take two. Cut.
Take two.
Cut.
I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Right, follow me with this.
But they've been using their power to obstruct and stop justice from taking place.
You want to pray us out?
I do.
We'll pray for Tina. And let's have conversations about what truth is. All right, let's try that again, but we're going to skip through can you fix the cameras, please? We're going to skip through this a little bit and go straight to Kyle. We only have him for the next 19 minutes, Matt. But this is the Mean Girls Club. It's turned into High School Mean Girls Club with Kash, Patel, and Dan Bongino at the head. And everyone's mad. Everyone's mad at whistleblowers that came forward that risked their entire careers to have to sit at home. Well, Dash Bongino, forget it. Let's just bring Kyle. Welcome to the show. Can't hear you. You're muted. Can we turn his volume on?
What do we think?
There we go. There we
go. Now I got double Joe.
Oh
double Joe. That's all you need. You need 1 Joe, 2 Joe, 3 Joe, 4 Joe, blue Joe, green Joe,
red Joe. Mojo. It's Mojo is what's going on today. We got Mojo.
Extra Joe.
I got an extra Joe. If you can't notice that you have 2 Joes, it's pretty awesome actually. I kind of feel good about having 2 Joes.
Yeah, we need to do some double Joe show.
Yeah. If you do double Joe, it's called Mojo. What's up, guys? I'm a little scraggly today. I feel like I need a nap and I need a shave of some kind to clean the beard up. I showered, but I still feel kind of an ugly week already.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you're having to put up with so much crap on a regular.
I feel fine though. I feel fine. I'm not angry. I'm actually really sad for some of the stuff that's gone on in Central Texas. There's people who have real problems. It's a good reminder of that. Family member of ours who lives in Comfort, Texas, my wife's godmother, everything, all her worldly possessions destroyed. They had 8 feet of water take out the cottage they live in. It was uninsurable because they lived too close to the water and they knew that. So it was just a risk they took. And, now they're in their 70s. Ben Berkwam just went down and did an interview with her. And they're the nicest people. They're like the OG Texans that you meet, that you go meet somebody in their 70s that's from Texas and grew up in Texas the way Texas used to be, and she's still saying we're blessed because we got to, survive, and we pulled out and we kept our vehicles from getting flooded, but they lost their whole home and everything they have. It's not like you're going to rebuild at 75, 80 years old. You're not going to do that. Anyway, I could be in a lot worse situation. I read a story this morning that brought me to tears, gents. 2 girls who went to middle school in Dallas, at the school directly next to the high school I graduated from. It's called St. Rita's. And so I'm intimately familiar with that school. My siblings went to school there. And there was an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old girl. It was covered in Catholic Votes email blast this morning. But 11-year-old, 13-year-old girl, both of them died holding hands with rosaries in their hands, getting swept off in the floodwaters. And, shoot, that'll mess me up. I'm a dad. I got 3 little girls right now. So it could be a lot worse. The fact that the FBI sucks and that our government is garbage and that they're covering up for pedophiles. It's like small potatoes compared to parents who were devastated today, and will be for the foreseeable future.
That was one of the toughest stories that I think I've ever seen. I
broke down and cried on my couch this morning. It's not. I'm about to do it now. It's horrible,
and
it's atrocious.
The fear they must have felt in those final moments is it's hard to imagine. Because Kyle, I have 3 girls as well. Well, 2 now, 1's coming in 2 months. So I'm about to have 3 girls. So I feel like that's maybe a common trend there. Some people, if you have 1, 2, 3 girls, then it's the girl train that comes along. But the Trump administration also posted today, a few minutes ago, that they are the most transparent administration in history. Imagine posting that today of all days. I mean, the audacity.
I would expect no less. To be fair. That's exactly what I would expect. What's wild is there are people that will go 100% in the paint and say, yeah, that's what's happening. They're totally transparent. Like they're the best. And the lone voices that say otherwise, that have been consistent about it will be the ones who are the jerks. But,
yeah. You mean like Thomas Massey?
Yeah, I like Tom Massey.
I like him a lot.
He's a good guy.
What's funny is this, and this is indicative. I think we have such a stupid electorate. I don't want to have the biggest audience. I'd like to have the smartest audience. My buddies were one time giving me a hard time, and they're like, you got into this pissing match with Dan Bongino, but the collective IQ of your audience is, superior to the collective IQ of his right now. That's not a great situation for America. That's actually a bad situation, and that's just that's a dig of two people. But we're talking about really, really dumb people that can't even see beyond the first order thinking. They go, Thomas Massey, a man who continues to have the same principles, who continues to say the same thing, who wears a debt clock that he designed because he thinks that's really important. And so do the people that elect him, by the way. They go, yeah, we agree with what he says. He represents them, not you, not me. Nobody that lives in Texas, nobody lives in Colorado, nobody that lives in someplace that's not where Tom Massey is. So all that's great. And they're like, he voted with AOC and the Democrats. It's like, yeah, sure. But why? It's always the why. Joe, I had a great thing, Matt. I got pulled into my boss's office when I was in my first year in the FBI. And
I thought it was maybe every job you've ever had, you had to go.
Well, I'm always pulled into the office. Yeah, I mean that's a given. Even when I was the boss, I ran restaurants for a guy who was really wealthy, and I still got pulled into the office. And he's like, Kyle, I'll tell you this thing. Like, you might be the general manager, but like I own the restaurant. It's like, yeah, got it. Come into your office.
They renamed the suspension room at your middle school the Kyle Seraphin suspension room.
One hopes so. I actually was was friends with the principal of my high school. I was a solidly good kid. I started getting. I was always too smart for my own good kind of thing. But I got pulled into this office in the FBI. This is in Washington Field office. Guy named Mark Levitt, who we liked him so little that we actually renamed making a bowel movement, taking a Levitt. So people just started using his last name instead of the S word, which is pretty funny. And he pulls me in and he goes, Kyle, he goes, here's the deal. Your boss says you're not a very good agent. And, I'm 36, 37 years old. I've got a history behind me. I'm a grown-ass man standing there in front of this other guy telling me I'm not a good agent. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, yeah, I agree with her, but that's not really what we should be talking about. I said, what we should be asking is why. And he goes, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm smart enough to be here. I'm smarter than most people I know. That's not like a flex. That's just the numbers. You can go look at the bell curve and see where I sit. So I'm standing in your office and I'm not being successful at a job that I have every ability to be successful at. And the reason why is what you should be asking me about. And he goes, well, why? I said, because I don't understand what you're trying to do here. I don't understand the mission. I don't understand how it's constitutional. I don't understand why we are here. And he was like, oh, well, they didn't explain it to you? And I go, no. And I said, can I ask you some questions? So I started hitting him with questions. He didn't really have any answers. He goes, well, you need to go and read the Chinese 100-year plan. It's on the Simpernet, it's on FBI net, ViewNet. I go, okay. He goes, let me send you the link. You come back and talk to me when you're done with it. So he sent me it, and it's hundreds of pages or whatever it is. And so I read it, and then I came back to him the next day, and he was like, what are you doing? I go, I read your plan. I don't understand what we're doing. I don't understand what we're doing here. It seems like we're involved in constitutional violations. It seems like you want to investigate Americans for the sake of information. And he was like, yeah, that's what we do. It's like, why? And he was like, because then we'll know more stuff. And I'm like, what are we going to do with it? And he was like, learn more things that we can learn more things about. I was like, I don't want to do that. How do I quit?
Wow.
Can I go get a job where we watch bad guys? Can I do anything other than this? And that was my fundamental issue, and I've been the same since my first probably week at the FBI. Ever since.
I would venture to say you've been the same probably since long before your first week at the FBI.
I'm a problem to people that don't want to hear hard questions, that don't want to analyze what their own issues are. And then also I never show up without a solution to a problem, Joe. My boss used to tell me, he was like, you're the worst, because not only do you see the problem, but you also have all the solutions, and you see problems that aren't even ours to deal with, and you have solutions for them too. And he's like, but the upside is if I give you a solution, I say, go do your solution, you're going to go do it. He's like, you're like a hellfire missile. I just fire it and I forget it. I just move on. Like, you'll come back to me when it's over and you've got it fixed. It's like, Yeah. Like, that's what I thought we were hiring. Are we not hiring problem solvers here? We're not.
You're a problem solver that came forward with, by the way, we have Steve Friend already. And I know, how long do I have you? How long do I have you for? How long do I have you?
A couple more minutes, and then I'm going to go talk to Joe Pags, but I can always come back here. You guys tend to go long, I feel like.
Yeah, we're going to go long for sure today. Right. We got a lot to talk about. But you had a text message that you got, and I'm not going to say where it's from.
Yeah.
But I just want to give people a little bit of context. Hit the share button. This is, and you can say that it's anti-Trump. Nobody's being anti-Trump. We're criticizing what needs to be criticized. And there's an old saying my dad said, and that is, what's right is rarely popular. What's popular is rarely right. Always choose to do the right. And I think that epitomizes what you and O'Boyle.
Well, let me put some context around this, because this text message is not anti-anything. Except it's anti-FBI. And if Donald Trump is not concerned about what's happening at the FBI that he ostensibly runs as the chief executive, it's going to be the thing that kills us in this country. It's going to kill American liberty. It is inherently dangerous. And it already went after him. So he needs to know better. And I need him to know that. Listen, when people in the Trump orbit, I've had people pick up the phone and call me. There's an FBI agent that wants to talk to me. Can you find out anything about that person? And the answer is, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to do that. Oh, that's one of us, or that's not one of us. Like, you shouldn't talk to them. I'll vet people within the Mar-a-Lago little circle, people who are close familial relation, shall we say. I don't know why I'm the person that picked up the phone, but I'm willing to do that. So I'm not against the guy, but I really, really, really need them to understand that this is an existential crisis. I thought we actually did that. I went and hosted a premiere for a movie called Police State, which is what happens when your law enforcement becomes a weaponized intel agency. And that's what we currently have. And they're not fixing it. Like, they just promoted another one of the swampy creatures within the last few days who got ahead by sleeping with their boss. So that's the context. And because I'm saying these things, they're disparaging, they being the current FBI director, very, very specifically, and people that are just below him, whether it be Dan Bongino or the people that are working around Bongino, are slandering me. And it's getting back to me because I do have some friendlies inside Washington, D.C. This is not going to, like, people who don't have significant influence, following, or awareness of what happens in the political sphere.
Okay. Well, let's look at the text. Can we? Can we look at the text?
Please.
The text was in the. Can we bring up the text, please? I put it in the show prep. Let me read it. I'll just start reading it if we can put it up. It starts out with, this is you saying something, so I'll just do this from your perspective. Anyone explain to you yet about the character issues with me and others? Yeah, I've heard how they dug up character issues on you guys to point to as rationales, like something related to firearm training. Sorry, this is really funny. Anyone that knows Kyle knows that he's very well trained. Okay, so we'll stop there. Kyle makes sure the caps lock was on when he did this, like, caps lock? LOL.
It is funny.
That's not funny. That's a belly laugh. Matt, that's a belly laugh.
I actually wrote that while I was on an exercise bike. I was on my trainer, so I was like doing some spinning.
So you really had to make it.
I really did. Yeah, I cap locked it for sure.
Caps lock. Yeah. That's lowercase, uppercase. And you said it would be cool to hear the allegation. The only firearms issue I had was shooting another guy's target next to mine on purpose, months after my WB actions and days before they suspended me. And he says, at some point, I think it was described to me as you shooting someone. And he says, yeah. And it ended with no charges, went home with my gun. So you said that to me, and I was like,
with no context.
Yeah. And I go, who did you shoot? I was like, who did you shoot?
Yeah. I still wonder. Paper target, man. That's who I shot.
Target.
Was the paper target okay? I mean,
no.
I imagine the hospital bills are pretty
you know what's even worse? The paper target, I actually intentionally shot outside of the silhouette. So the Quantico target is what we were shooting on. So it's called the Q target. And it's a head and then there's like a neck area, and then there's like shoulders. It's a qualifying target. It's essentially the shape of a bottle, with kind of like humanish features. So I actually shot outside of the demarcated target zone. I was screwing with the guy next to me on purpose.
So we've already read the text, but you can put it up if you want. Put us on the side. Put it up. There you go. So this is just the text, and you can see the LOL. And he said, it'd be cool to hear the allegation. Da, 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 da. Okay. So, and Kyle sent it to me. And by the way, this just shows you how quick Kyle sent it to me. Like, because we've been going back and forth this morning with some of the Kabuki theater. By the way, can we bring Steve Friend in? Can we bring him in?
I may have to duck out, and I'll join you guys in a few minutes if that's good with you.
But the big thing is that you whistleblow, you lost your home, you were homeless. Emily was pregnant. Like, I'm getting emotional because I know you. Like, I broke bread with you. I've sat with you. I've seen you with your kids. And so making the decision to take that all away, like to walk away from that comfort, is you don't take that lightly. Like, this is not like,
no.
And most people don't understand Kyle. Like, Kyle literally cares about people he should have zero care about. He should care about no one. He should not have to care about the American people. And yet he was willing to give it up all in order to protect the interests of the American people. And yet this FBI director and his silhouette, pirouette, whatever you want to call Bongino, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. I mean, at the end of the day, like, God's path is difficult to fathom, and I can't complain about it. And like I said, like, I looked this morning and I got to see all my kids come down the stairs. So there are people who are not going to have that experience today. So it kind of puts a lot of perspective on things. It's hard to be upset when I'm sitting in a studio that I built with my own cash because I have enough money, because enough people care about what I'm doing, that I could sell advertisements for people to come and hear my thoughts. Like, that's a pretty big blessing. That's not a thing that normal people get to do. So, that's exceptional. But at the same time, yeah, these people are not, like, I'm not the victim in this. It's going to be, all of us are going to be the victim. And some of us are going to be higher up on that list than others. And if Donald Trump doesn't think that him and his family are at the top of that list, like, then we can't convince him of anything. And that's terrifying to me, because it seems really obvious, and you're not going to be able to wrangle this beast. It is the ring of power. It is, you throw it into the fire of Mount Doom, or you end up losing all of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
That may be my last thought in here. I'm gonna tag Steve Friend in, and then I'll like I said, I'll come back to you guys, just since I promised I would be on another.
I was gonna say, you said I had brought my own cash, or built it with my own cash. Is that with a K? You had little rocking around,
yes.
Or did you have the green cash?
K and a $sign? Yep.
That's hilarious. All right, but when you come back, I want to hear some of the things that you're going to do, that you would do if you were in a position to fix the FBI. I want to hear all about what you would do. I know it's an easy question for you, but when you get back, we'll talk more about that.
Sold. Deal. You got it. I'll be back soon.
Steve Friend, you're in. We have Steve. It's a lot, huh?
It is a lot.
They made up this whole story about Steve Friend, Garrett O'Boyle's, Kyle Seraphin, all of them, and they just made it up. They just made it up. They just made up a story as if this is the Mean Girls Club and we're in high school, and we're standing at the locker saying, "Who slept with Susie?" We know that Matt Wallace, he slept with Susie. I'm going to tell Diana he slept with Susie.
Well, I mean, Kyle should have thought about that, though, before he decided to shoot Flat Stanley in the face. That was a move too far. Shooting the paper target. What was he thinking?
All right, Steve, welcome to the show, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for the invite. Glad to get tagged in.
I'm angry. I know you're angry, but I'm angry for you. Like, I truly believe that this is the greatest betrayal, and loyalty deserves no loyalty if the answer is betrayal.
It's a little bit more difficult to take this one than, I guess, the original one, which, I mean, as amazing as it is, it's coming up on 3 years. I kind of went into that with a semblance of a hope that maybe I'd been an exemplary enough employee that they would say, well, he's got value here, so maybe we can get beyond this and he'll just take a couple of demerits, take a couple of lumps, and get back to business as usual. But then once that process started, and even in my conversations with people who were attorneys or experienced in this regard, they gave me that candid question of, your time is coming up on an end here, right? And I kind of accepted that. And from the time, I thought I embraced that as being, that was the new lot in life, and try to move on from it. And then have a flash forward a couple of years, and then you have you have an election, you have a new administration coming in, and Kyle and Garrett and others and myself were all excited to be part of a solution and render any sort of information we could, any sort of inside knowledge. And then at the same time, then finding out that we were stabbed in the back in a certain regard by besmirching our character for what I cannot ascertain the reason for it. I really can't. Other than, there are just people that are still entrenched within the agency who have gotten into the ears of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and have been whispering sweet nothings into their ears. But it was my understanding, at least in my conversations with those guys before they went in, that they knew full well that that was going to happen, and yet they got co-opted relatively quickly.
Steve, I don't think everyone understands the gravity behind this. You went forward, you lost. You wrote a book called True Blue, and you're a guy that literally has. You're almost a Boy Scout. I mean, you are a Boy Scout, but I mean, meaning you follow the letter of the law. Like, you are very committed to. You have one line, right? I mean, Kyle shot the guys next to him's target. he likes to play a little bit, right? You are.
I don't ruffle feathers that way. No, that's not my default nature. I've had to sort of adapt a little bit to becoming more of the feral animal, like Kyle Seraphin's naturally predisposed to be. Like, that's not my nature. I'm a rule guy. I've always said that the people that made the decisions that we did it because we're system idealists. We're not system disruptors. I mean, Kyle's a little bit more of a disruptive force, but I think at his core, he still is also a system idealist. He did what he did because he believes in the Constitution, believes in the First Amendment. And that's really the nature of what it is to come forward with a reasonable concern of waste, fraud, abuse, or a violation of the rule, the policy, the procedure, or the Constitution itself. And you come forward because you want that problem addressed so that we can go back to how things should operate, and it should operate in a law enforcement context of the law enforcement apparatus exists as a shield and not a sword. You exist to protect the innocent against fraud and force, not to view them as an opportunity to go after, not to interpret the law as a way to say, well, you're getting close to the line there, so maybe if I reinterpret the law, it'll actually be behind your feet, so that I can go after you. And I went in with that intention because I said, we are on the wrong side here, and I don't want to be a part of being on the wrong side. I want us to be on the right side. And the key word in that phrase is us. I still viewed it as an us, and learned that lesson pretty quickly, that I was not really ever a part of us if I was not willing to just follow orders. I mean, I had individuals within my chain of command who have since been promoted, and they're now at headquarters in Washington, D.C., who told me in my private meetings with them that I needed to set an example for my children and just follow orders. That was their perspective on things. I had other people who were subpoenaed to come and testify to the weaponization committee under the last congressional term, and then suddenly retired before they had to go do that, who said that I represented a fringe belief and that I was a conspiracy theorist, and I needed to do some soul searching and decide if I really wanted to be part of this organization going forward. I mean, you're talking about a completely captured apparatus at this point, and I'm in a certain regard, I am lucky. I could view it as a blessing to have been removed, or they removed me, or I removed myself because of the decisions I made before I lost my soul in that regard. But I was eternally optimistic, and that's not my default nature, about new leadership coming in, people who were amenable to the ideas that we had, who were amenable to the notions of the problems that existed, and they wanted to root that out so that we could recapture the agency and maybe make it an objective force for good again. And instead, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, and it's a pretty bad betrayal. I mean, I can't even get to the knife this one between the shoulder blades because it's so far back there.
Steve, Garrett, you're all very different. We're talking about Phil or you or Garrett or Kyle, and they act as if, and I just want to be, I mean, I don't even know how to say this. Somebody just said it in the comments. Lion just said, Kash leaned on these guys for help and then turned his back when he got what he wanted. It's pretty true, isn't it?
It's very true. Kash and most of the people in the Trump administration were clearly doing what they were doing to an end, and that ends was being part of the administration. They wanted their own government. Now they have the benefits for life. Now they have access to healthcare, everything they need. They're fully taken care of financially. They can get deals with lobbyists and other groups. They don't ever have to worry again. And it seems like now that they have that, it is exposed that the passion that we thought they had to really go after these people, the passion we thought they had, was nothing more than, once again, something to an end. So I want to know, what do you think, Steve, is the way that we can go forward with fixing these systems? Some people think we should blow it all up. We don't need these systems anymore. What do you think?
Well, and I'll even just preface that with, I think all of us went into the conversations we had with those guys getting into positions of power with a mindset of, we're available for tasking. We have no expectation of any sort of like reinstatement. I think Garrett O'Boyle he's technically still an employee of the FBI. He deserves that. But we all just wanted to be available for tasking, to be a resource for those people. And we certainly didn't expect to have the reaction that we've gotten now and the treatment we've gotten, and to the point where I'm unemployed and unemployable at this point. Like my prospects of future professional endeavors are essentially radioactive. Okay, now to solve the problem, I was on record before the election, even after the election. The entire FBI needs to be shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered to the wind. It has been an objective force for ill, provably so, and we see more and more evidence emerging of that in its current actions and even in its prior actions before you had Kash Patel at the helm. I mean, the biggest story that apparently made 12 hours of the news cycle was confirmation that the Chinese government, a foreign nation, it was a foreign adversary of us, was involved in tampering with our election in 2020, and the FBI knew about it and buried it. And I say this is unequivocally, this is the worst example of election interference by the FBI. And I know that with the Hunter Biden laptop censorship, where they had the laptop in evidence. I know that with the Russiagate stuff, where they took the Steele dossier and imbibed it and laundered it to create intelligence products and wind up getting fake FISA wiretaps. I know that with James Comey doing an off-the-books honeypot scheme to install 2 FBI agents who still work for the agency, by the way, into the Donald Trump campaign and make themselves look sexually available so that they could dig up dirt. All of that was an effort to get people who were voters to say, yeah, I'm not going to vote for that guy, or I'm more predisposed to vote for that guy now instead, or they're all bad, I'm just going to stay home. But when the FBI knew that a foreign actor had an attempt to stuff ballots into ballot boxes, and Customs intercepted 19,888 fake driver's licenses on their way to battleground states in the summer before the election. That's actual physical manipulation of our election. And that was before you had Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino and President Trump Part 2. If you knew nothing else other than that, you would know that that is a secret police force. That is the Cheka, the KGB, the Gestapo, and it cannot be allowed to exist. Now, that's my position. I'm unfortunately outvoted in that regard by even people who purport to be on our side. So how would you fix the problem if you're going to give it the old college try? You take the teeth out of the attack dog. You make the FBI what it originally was intended to be when it was signed into existence with a single-page document by an attorney general whose last name was Bonaparte. And that was a Bureau of Investigation without the ability to arrest or have a gun, an unarmed Bureau of Investigation. And then I would take what the FBI does currently now, so we have a proof of concept. It's hardly unprecedented. And that is, there are local sheriff's deputies, police officers, state officers who are deputized by the United States Marshals, and they become task force officers, so they're cross-deputized. They're able to investigate local crimes, state charges, because they're sworn to do that. And now they have federal arrest powers. And the FBI could do federal investigations. And then when it comes time to make the arrest, you have the local authorities able to do that. And they also have the ability to say, no, we veto that. We're not going to effect that arrest. You're effectively an intelligence analyst who's done a Jack Ryan-esque sort of investigation, but I am the arresting authority and I will not do that. I will not go forward with that. That to me is a way to empower the lesser magistrate and empower the forces who are the most responsible for the local constituency, because if the sheriff is going out there and he's elected to enforce the law, and the people find out that he's sending his guys out to go do federal arrests of grandmas who did a guided tour of the Capitol, as opposed to encountering like a major drug problem in the area or a violent criminal gang, then he's going to lose his job. So he's incentivized to actually serve the local constituency. And then the FBI, which it seems to be refusing to give up its quota system. It still exists, the integrated program management. It's still on the books. Well, you're not going to hit your quotas to go back to Congress and get your billions of dollars if the sheriffs are not going out there and actually getting those arrests and getting the arrest quota. So they're going to be more driven to set their own quotas, which they do, for themselves to meet what the sheriffs need to meet. So that way it's a more amicable partnership. And that way we can actually have a law enforcement apparatus in this country going out and serving the local communities.
You know, it's a lot to bite off, Steve. By the way, are you going to maybe run for sheriff or become a sheriff?
It might be the only way I can get employed at this point. My local sheriff here, I applied to be a rookie deputy, and they weren't interested. So elections would be in 2028, though. It's not going to be any time coming.
I mean, it's remarkable to be part of any of these systems at the top level. You have to be extremely smart. You have to be very qualified. You're the top of the top to even get it in at all. And then to go from that, now you can't even become a deputy. It's shocking to me, but there's clearly something more in the system than what we're being told, because we saw Kash Patel. He went out and said, we're going to shatter the FBI, some of the same points that you made there. He said he was going to do that. He promised that over and over again. He went on Stu Peters' show a bunch of times. He wasn't afraid to be controversial.
No, he doesn't know Stu Peters. He testified to that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But he was on there.
Never
like
happened. It never happened. Just like the Epstein client list doesn't exist. It never happened. So he told us over and over again he was going to fix it, and now he's in there and he didn't. So what happened? Well, where's the disconnection? Was he told by someone within the higher up positions, hey, you can't do this. They're going to go after your family or take your life. Are they going to JFK you if you try to expose the FBI from the inside? What's happening? Why? How did he do such a big 180? Is he just a total liar? Or is there something more we're not being told, some sort of pressure on the inside that is able to even subvert the strongest of us?
All right. Well, let's just set aside that they could be psychopath liars who just went in there for nefarious intentions and said, I'm going to use these guys like a rental car and then just cast them aside, right? Let's give the most amount of latitude and grace. And here's what and I think that this probably applies more to a Bongino than Kash Patel. Now, the director normally comes from the outside. The deputy director normally comes from the inside. They're normally a company man, probably not my best friend, but they actually know the machinations, the machinations of the way to run the agency. The director sets the vision. The deputy director moves the chess pieces. It is the job, and these guys wouldn't know this in their defense. It is the job of the director and the deputy director to set the vision, to move the chess pieces, to set the priorities around. It is not their job to be briefed up every single day on the greatest threats to America. But they're outsiders who came in, and I believe that people who are on the inside, in the upper echelons of power, have effectively gotten them bubble wrapped, gotten them confused, and gotten them focused on things, thinking that I'm in charge of this agency, and people out there who are my political enemies are waiting for me to fail. Maybe they have a little bit of doubt in their abilities to do it. And they, man, if something goes boom, I'm going to take the blame here. I got to make sure that I'm briefed up on this. And that is what is going on right now. And reporting from my insiders, and reporting in open source and news, you hear that when they're moving the headquarters 3 blocks away from the Hoover building to the Reagan building. Well, that's great, because now they've been regularly meeting with their counterparts every single day at DOJ to discuss the highest threats to national security. Not your job, but you've been told it is your job, so you're going to do that to the utmost of your ability. And let me just give you this and give your audience this. I don't think they know the org chart. If I'm the agent who's trained and experienced in investigating a case, and I'm going to make all the decisions to bring that case forward the best, most judicious way possible, efficiently, to bring forward a prosecution, or I'm going to go after and stop a terrorist attack from happening, okay? I report to a supervisor, who reports to assistant special agent in charge, who reports to a special agent in charge, and if I'm in a big office, they report to an assistant director in charge. Then I go back over to headquarters, where there's a program manager, an assistant unit chief, a unit chief, an assistant section chief, a section chief, an assistant director, a deputy assistant director, an executive assistant director, and then an associate deputy director.
Is there anybody left? I mean, isn't
and
that
then
like the
we
whole
get
FBI?
to the deputy director. That's 15 derivatives.
Wow.
15 derivatives till I get to the director of the FBI, 14 for the deputy director. They don't need to know every day what's going on. Do you think Kash Patel is going to say, oh, you know what? That agent should go out there and look for evidence. Oh, he hadn't thought about that. Thanks, director. But they've been confused to do that, and they're not actually bringing forward the mandate that was to reform the agency from the ground up.
Do you think Dash Patel has ever been in a fight?
Well, it does
I mean,
play
be
hockey.
He played hockey? What like powder puff hockey? What would he play?
Yeah,
No, I'm serious.
My understanding,
Yes,
Kash,
I had him on my show years ago,
U13 hockey.
and I asked him a question. He goes, "That's outside. That's I don't even know about that." And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you're here to pimp your book then? Yeah, that's pretty much it. And him and the, trying to be the Trumpist person behind him, to put the books and all the other stuff behind him and make it so that he's like the cash symbol. Do you think the guy's ever been in a fight? You think he's ever gotten his ass beat? Or do you think he just ran from everybody his entire life? And that's why he likes what he's doing right now, because somewhere along the line they can, he feels like the big man on campus, go to the clubs, be the cool kid. I mean, I don't think he was ever the cool kid.
30-man protective detail is going to ensure that he doesn't continue to get into a fight ever. And there's definitely trappings attached to it.
And look, and I'm gonna get so much flack for this. You got Julie Kelly, who, by the way, is I don't know who she's a simping pimp for, but she is. Sorry, I hope she's not following you, because she's going to block you right after
Julie
this.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Not familiar.
You have so many bad layers, Steve, of people. We have literally debated the ridiculous, and we have promoted the weak all the way through it. Like strong, Steve stands up, says, "Hey, look, I'm gonna tell on these guys because what they're doing is fundamentally wrong. Goes against everything we should believe in as a country." You are now ostracized. Garrett O'Boyles. Yep, you're ostracized. And then you know what? It's not enough to not give you your job back. But then these little simpy little assholes decided they had to go out and badmouth you, right? I know what it feels like. I got 5 years of it. I got 5 years of the bad mouthing. And the people, little clubs saying, please just keep Joe quiet, keep him quiet. Everywhere. Rumble, X, you name it, I'm blocked, right? I'm suppressed, censored. Matt's just figuring this out. But now, I mean, Steve, how does it feel? You're a bad guy. You shot someone or did something. Your character is below par, rule maker or rule, follower.
It's the biggest gut punch imaginable. I mean, I have these discussions with my wife. I put on a brave face and I try to be a resource of information for people. But in my private conversations with her, it's devastating. I was telling her last week, I don't think I can recall an instance in my life where I broke a rule. I mean, I never got detention in school. I never got grounded. My siblings, my younger sister, my younger brother, to this day tease me. They call me the golden child. Like, I followed every single rule. And you see these success paths for life, and it's like, well, you should graduate high school and you should get married and get a job before you have a kid. And if you follow these sorts of things, if along the way, as the template goes, you will have a successful life 99.999% of the time. And I'm like, I guess I'm the 0.001% whose two children only remember in their formative years, especially my younger one, Dad doesn't have a job and he stays at home all day. And he can't seem to find any sort of way to become the provider for the family. Like, that to me is the ultimate insult, because I always wanted to follow the rules, to do things at my own inconvenience so that I can go out, earn a living, and have my wife be a stay-at-home mom with our kids. And she has to bear the burden of being not just a mom, but now a breadwinner, because there's some sort of cap, there's some sort of like boot on my neck. And that goes for Garrett as well. Kyle's killing it right now with this podcast, but he's an exception to that rule. Marcus Allen reached a settlement. He's the only one. Marcus Allen reached a settlement to be reinstated upon the condition that he would then resign immediately and then receive his back pay. It took the government 12 months to give him his back pay. He got it about a week ago. He's unemployed. Now, he reached that settlement with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and Christopher Wray. So I guess we have to say, hey, hat tip to them. They treated whistleblowers better, because apparently the FBI now, the DOJ now, is more concerned with Epstein pedophiles being protected than Garrett O'Boyle's being reinstated, which pains me to say.
Think about what you're saying. I mean, Matt and I are looking at each other while you're talking, and I mean, it's hard to sit here and not feel like, I'm sorry to pick on Julie Kelly, but what has that simpy little bitch done? Sorry. And you won't say it, I will. You weren't putting attention, I was many times. Right? Steve, I don't, all the people you're talking about, and Kash Patel, the guy that said that I would shut down the FBI headquarters, and he talked a tough game. He had the same Trump-esque courage. I still believe Trump has courage. I believe that the swamp creatures, they have had 4 years to figure out that he's going to get back into office, and we have got to control this dragon. We have got to control him. And they are doing a really good job of muzzling the dragon. And you could talk about the wins that we're having at the border, and that just took saying to the Border Patrol, do your job. Don't let them in. He made every decision that he's made. He should do the same thing. Tina Peters is still in jail. You guys are still unemployed. The election systems are still shit. Fake ballots are still being used. Elections right after President Trump was elected, stolen. Lancaster County. Never seen a Democrat since 1979. Now has a Democrat that runs that particular district and a special election. I mean, I feel like we are in Orwellian times, and that our country is in bigger peril today than it was when Biden was in office. At least it would have gotten to a place when Biden was in office that we would have ripped the Band-Aid off and gone to war, right? At least we would have had an expectation. What's our expectation now, Steve? What's your expectation?
There's too much hopium still. I mean, people voted, got the election outcome they thought they wanted, and then thought they won the Super Bowl, and they went back to bed. And that wasn't the Super Bowl. That wasn't even like the coin toss of the Super Bowl. Like the season hadn't even started at that point. But there's a extreme fringe minority of people that actually accept that as the reality. The reality is, you allude to a civil war. We're in a cold civil war. There's no disputing that fact. Praise be to God that it's still cold. But it's an asymmetrical battle, because you have the other side, the vile Marxist, godless communists, and I don't call them Democrats, and I don't call them leftists or progressives or hippies. They're Marxist communists who would take my children away and put me in a camp because I didn't put a vaccine in my arm. Every single one of them voted for that. And they are the Borg from Star Trek that says that which not is banned is required, you will be assimilated, resistance is futile. And the right of center, more libertarian people still to this day, after having witnessed what we did over the last 4 years, say things like, we all want the same things. You know, we might disagree, but we should just share ideas and we can come to a compromise. That is the analogous to coming to the gunfight at the OK Corral, and the other side has their 6-shooter and their second, and a lot of people in reserve who are not according to the rules you're allowed to have because they don't care about the rules. And you're coming to that gunfight with a letter from mommy, and it says Constitution on it, and you're going to quote the rules and say, you can't do that to me. And they just laugh and they roll over you. And that's the indication to me that our social compact has been completely shattered, and the people who purport to be on our side do not know what time it is. It's a suboptimal position to be in, but to not recognize that, you do at your own peril. And you talk about the problems that still exist, where you have theoretically a Republican president, a Republican controlled House and Senate and Supreme Court. And I mean, outside of some policy wins here and there, which we've backtracked on, really, what have we gotten?
Well, we did get the Supreme Court ruling during Biden's administration for overturning Roe versus Wade. That was in Biden's deal.
You know, if you actually want to,
when are we going to get the Dobbs leaker, by the way? And weren't we promised that like 6 weeks ago, the Dobbs leaker? We're on the case and we're going to turn that over. It's not illegal, by the way. I don't know why the FBI would be investigating. It's not illegal.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these things. And if we really want to fix a system, I don't want to glaze too much. Maybe there's someone better than all of you. But wouldn't Kyle and Steve be two of the first people you call to, at the very least, give an interview to for these positions of leadership?
Yeah.
If you really want to change things, if you want to be radical, you're not going to go status quo like almost every single Trump administration official. Less swampy than the last one, but still very much status quo. No real big ground-shaking changes happening. And the proof of that is that right now Steve's sitting here talking to us unemployed rather than leading one of these agencies or getting a chance to make a positive thing happen. So it's very frustrating to me watching this over and over again, continuing to believe someone's going to be good. You have faith in them. They say the right things. And then finally, push comes to shove. They have an opportunity to do it, and nothing happens over and over. I hate it.
Steve, it's funny. We had an insider give us a little note. They said that the thing that they feared most was that Kyle Seraphin would be put in a position of executive leadership.
Really? I mean, it's a real thing, right? You don't want people that hold people accountable, truly accountable, in positions of leadership. That's what weak leadership does. If you're a bad person, do you surround yourself with good people or bad people?
No, never anybody's going to step out of line. It's just bad.
Mm-hmm. So if you're a bad person, as you start looking at the cancers of government and how government, you have President Trump that I believe is good. I believe his intentions are good. I believe everything he's doing is good. He is surrounded by the serpents. He is literally in a snake pit, a viper pit. And he is not making himself known. He's not. He keeps saying things take time. How long did it take him, Steve, to close the border?
I mean, the numbers would say that day one.
Day one. Day one, he made a decision and he changed the trajectory of our country for at least the next 4 years, or at least the next 2 years, because he's going to get impeached in 2026 if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots. But if you look at the progression that's happened, Pam Bondi has put President Trump on ice. People like Julie Kelly have put him on ice. You could argue Steve Bannon put him on ice. Mike Lindell made him look kind of stupid because Mike Lindell chased every stupid thing that he could possibly think of and didn't listen to reason 99% of the time. I think Mike literally, truly believes that he wants to save the country, right? But he replaced one addiction with another of just notoriety, right? I'm not, the Pella Man's not big enough. I need to go do something else. Has no idea what he's talking about, right? But he put the idea of election fraud on ice, right? His lack of abilities, his lack of of understanding of a system and just talking about things like PCAPs created enough, ridiculous that overshadowed the truth. And in large part, that's what we deal with today. Kash Patel does the same thing. Epstein. I actually don't care about Epstein. I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't care about Epstein. I care about the victims. And they haven't talked about the victims. You want to know why? Because they don't give a shit about the victims. Let's be honest. They don't care about the American people. We're all their little pawns. We're their little slaves. And the only reason you don't have non-transparent systems and you have these gates that exist, like the Dobbs deal. I mean, it's really simple. Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to tell you who it is. Who cares? Hunter Biden is still out of jail. He got out of free. You have the auto pin. You could just literally say it basically. You know what it was? It was the great purge. They could do whatever. You could do whatever. You could kill anybody if you were in their little circle, and they would just wave a pin, and you're out. You're off. But then you have Bobulinski and all these other people that came forward. You put them all in a bucket, right? A line. If you speak up for truth, they will find a way to make you a liar. And Steve, that's in essence what they did. You chose the right, and these pieces of shit, under the direction, I'm sorry, President Trump is the commander-in-chief. I don't care if he can make a decision tomorrow to close the border and everything else. I don't actually care if he dropped a bomb on somebody's head and it's good for people over in another country. I care about what goes on in our own country because it's supposed to be America first, right? Well, where's the America first when the guys that stand up and blow the whistle on bad deeds are the ones that are put as the pariahs? I mean, in essence, you're in the lion's den. You're having to sleep in the lion's den, and nobody even told you for how long.
We have some breaking news coming in. The Supreme Court, surprisingly 8-1, just voted to allow Trump to cut the federal workforce in any department he chooses. So that was one thing that was blocking him. Maybe. Again, so much has happened that gives us little faith that something big is going to be changed. But maybe this could spur a movement within the Trump administration where Trump says, all right, I'm using this Supreme Court win and I'm going to go after and start cutting these things like crazy.
You still got the Kardashians running things.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what it is, you still got the Kardashians. You still got Dan Bongino. Man, the guy thinks that he just lifts weights and he must still spend 3 hours a day in the gym. And Kash Bongino or Kash Patel. I mean, that guy just is, I'm sorry. He's fake and gay. And I will put a lot of emphasis on gay because I think somewhere along the line that guy's a closet gay. Sorry, Steve. It's not helping you with your plight to get back to the FBI.
Yeah. Look, I don't think that that's in the cards for them. They've written that off for me. And look, the offer to go back to my old job and, why don't you go back to investigating pedophiles? Don't you want to do that? And where you had a knack for doing that and a passion for doing that. I mean, let's be realistic. Am I going to roll into the exact same office, to the exact same cubicle that walked me out of 3 years ago and work for the exact same boss and the exact same coworkers? I mean, it'd be fun for like 20 minutes to like walk in, like high five and air because I'm not going to get very much more than a cold shoulder from everyone in that office. But they'll find a way to escort me out another way. I mean, they'll dig like they did for me. I mean, the premise of my suspension is threefold. One, they say refused an order to go and arrest someone, but I expressed concerns about going on the arrest, and they told me to stay home. So I did that. So that's a lie. The second one was they said that I refused to participate in additional training, which I had been identified to take because I had made protective whistleblower disclosures, which is against the law. But I said I would go if they gave me a document to bring to my attorney, and they said yes, and then they suspended me before the training happened. So again, another lie. And the third one was that I improperly accessed the FBI's network, which I did. I went to the classified network and got a copy of the unclassified handbook, the employee handbook, and sent it to my attorney because he asked me to do that because he didn't have an FBI handbook and didn't know how to defend me. And again, that's a problem of the FBI housing unclassified documents, unclassified systems. It's almost like they planned it that way because they'll find something to remove you. And that Supreme Court decision, 8-1, the president can fire. That's great. That everyone who works in the intelligence community, including the FBI, has a security clearance. They pulled my security clearance. I didn't get fired. They suspended my security clearance for looking at the employee handbook. Why wouldn't we just pull the security clearances of 38,000 people? We could have done that on day one and then re-adjudicated whether or not they were sufficiently loyal to the United States government. But we didn't do that. And there was no sort of outside the box thinking. And those are things that I propose to people who are currently in the administration. I wrote significantly much more than I wanted to, because they asked me, how would you reform the FBI? And I said, well, defund it all. And they said that wasn't enough. So I wound up writing like this white paper that nobody will ever read except the people that were the nerds in the positions of power, making several recommendations for what they could do. And they said, well, we can't do that because, you know, we might face a challenge in court. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll face the challenge in court. Well, it might be violation of the law. I said, well, good news. If you suspend all the FBI agents, then nobody can arrest you for violating the law. But it's this asymmetrical battle where the one side's trying to operate within the confines of the rules that they set for themselves, and the other side doesn't care what the rules say. And I think probably the most disturbing criticism that I got from this think tank was that I recommended full transparency with the elected officials who said, hey, we need to know what's going on with the Epstein list. Hey, we need to know what's going on with the January 6th pipe bomb case. And you say, well, we can't compromise an ongoing investigation, sources and methods. We'll get to you when we can. I said, no, you can't do that. You have to be accountable to the elected officials so you can be accountable to the people. And the response that I got from people currently, cabinet level people in the current administration was, we don't want to do that because we want that power when we have it.
So push back on me as much as you possibly can with this, Steve. But one day you're going to get a position maybe like that, hopefully, and you're going to have the ability to do it. And someone's going to come to you. They're going to say, blah, 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 this, that. We're going to go after you, this, that. We're going to fire you. I'm powerful. I'm going to have consequences against you if you do it. And you're not going to do it. You're going to back down. You're not going to do it. And you're going to be just like the rest of them. How would you push back on that?
I've been wearing a non-restrictive waistband for the last 3 years, sitting in an office, talking into a small lens of a camera. I've got a pretty hardened heart. I mean, back in the days, we were a little bit more rosy about what our options were going to be. And we said, look, if we had the opportunity to go back into that sort of a position, it was almost like the experience we had was a unique enough to harden us to make those decisions. We kind of have been, we've been tested in that regard, right? And to me, I have a line, I do not cross it. I make no secret about it. And I've always said, like, doing the right thing is very simple. It's not easy a lot of times, but it's very simple. And I make no bones about where I stand on that. And that's really kind of what has hurt me for having a future prospects in working for an FBI. It's hurt me from having work in other regards too. I mean, for a time I was a fellow at a think tank, and I was told things like, I was not allowed to criticize Julie Kelly because she was part of the movement. I was not allowed to be publicly friends with Kyle Seraphin because he had criticized Julie Kelly. That's why I got fired, by the way. I got fired.
What does that tell you about Julie Kelly?
Julie Kelly's not following me, by the way. I checked. So I guess I have a green light to.
She's a piece of shit. I'm going to tell you right now. Julie Kelly's a piece of shit. She's
you want her cell phone number? I'll tell you.
No, yeah, I don't want her cell phone number.
Put it on the air.
I don't want her cell phone number. I don't want any of their cell phone numbers. Here's what I know about them. They're un-American. They're pieces of trash. And frankly, they support both sides because that's who they are. They're the controlled opposition. And it's very clear to see. People are like, Joe, why would you say that? Well, I'm going to tell you why I said it, because it's true. And here's another thing about Steve. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to answer it for him. If Steve was the director of the FBI and we're friends, and I would support him 100%. If I did something wrong, Steve would arrest me. And you know what? I would expect him to arrest me. I would expect him not to look the other way. I would expect him to make the hard decision and hold me accountable for my behavior. That's the difference between men and boys. And the people that they have out there right now, they're boys. They're boys. They're not men.
I don't know. We can give you a couple passes, Joe. Maybe just a couple FBI get out of jail cards.
Give you
we can negotiate that, right, Steve? We're not going to put Joe in jail for some minor crimes. It would have to be significant.
No, but what I'm saying is, if I let's just say I killed someone, right? And Steve, I would expect that he would put me in jail. I expect that I would not want my children, I would not want my family to know, because Joe knew X and Y, because I've already done it before. My friend was heading to jail for 5 years. I should not have been able to pick up the phone and call someone that works as a law clerk to talk to someone else, to talk to the judge, to get him 6 months and not 5 years. But I was able to do it. Now, this is years ago. I shouldn't have that much influence over the judicial process. And that's how I know the judicial process is broken and fraudulent. It's baloney, because I've done it. I've also done it in other places where I needed a favor, and I pick up the phone and I get my favor. And at the end of the day, I'm like, listen, I always tell people the other thing, black and white, right? Here's the gray area. I don't live in the gray area. But I mean, I'll make the phone call and I'll help someone. I will, because I believe in them. But if I don't believe in it, you're not going to get me to pick up the phone and call. And this is what's happened to Steve. You cannot be friends with Kyle Seraphin. What did you say?
That was not part of my employment agreement, and I'm not going to disavow my best friend.
And then what happened?
Lost my job. That was September of last year.
Loyalty is earned. And a betrayal of that loyalty does not deem the fact that you have to keep that loyalty. Loyalty is only earned up to the point of betrayal. Once you have betrayal, you're done. But loyalty is broken.
I think it's perfect in a law enforcement context. I mean, you talk about like a dirty cop. Yeah. It's not the taking of the bribe. It's that forever then that you can never be trusted, and forever the bad guys are going to own you. That's why I always tell my kids, like, I have 2 rules in my house. You respect your mother and you never lie. Even if you did something wrong, I have to know that what you're telling me is the truth, because I will go to war for you. Just don't make a punk out of me. Don't make me defend somebody who has told me the wrong information. And once your credibility is gone, then you can never recover it. Or, I mean, the path you have to go to get it back is very long. And even then, it's always a question.
It is.
I mean, if you're giving favors to one person, who else are you giving favors to? Do you really have the backbone to stand up and do what's right? That is overall a good point, I think. And right now, our kids are in a position where they may not get to have a country in 30 years, at least not one that is well put together or well run in any capacity, one that's able to take care of them if they need it. And that's what's the most scary to me. This isn't just about fixing one 3-letter agency or the other. This is about fundamentally making it possible to have a country where we can not only live comfortably, but where we can feel like we have an ability to grow up when it comes to our job, but whatever it is. It's very frustrating to me to see what's happened. And I really, really, really hope one day we are able to get people who are really going to fix it in these positions. Maybe next presidency, there's an opportunity if we can fix the mail-in ballots.
Yeah, maybe. Steve, I know you got to go hang out with your family. And I just want to say thank you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry on behalf of the American people that we have no courage and that we have no loyalty to you. The same loyalty that you gave the American people. We've been fair weather. We've decided that your pain is not worth fighting for. And I think that's probably the saddest part about all of this, is that as a country, we should have the hills to die on. And it should be the ones that show the loyalty to us, not the ones that betray that loyalty. And it just seems like a backwards Kardashian kabuki theater environment. So I'm here to protect.
Well, I appreciate you guys giving me a platform. Appreciate you guys, your friendship here. That's one of the silver linings here. The wheat from the chaff was definitely separated, and I've gotten to know, who really are the people that are willing to stand on that hill and fight alongside of us. And I'm grateful for that. And good to see you guys today.
Good to see you.
You too.
Steve Friend, take care. It is bothering. It bothers me in a big way. I mean, it's okay. Imagine not being able to do what you do. I mean, you're an influencer. You've been doing it for a long time. Imagine being just taken away from you, and they said you're persona non grata for the thing that you have trained your entire life to do. I don't say that. I mean, you're young, so you could do something else. But I mean,
and that would suck.
Yeah,
being told, hey, everything you built, you just got banned from X, which a lot of people did, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm very lucky to have been in a position where Elon Musk owns X now. If I had tried to do what I do now 5 years ago, I could have built it and I would have been banned.
226,000 people. They were like, boop, you're gone.
Just like that. You need your account back, Joe. We need to advocate. Maybe we can get it back.
We're going through it right now. We're doing a subpoena right now to them. And we might have a claim against Twitter, X, whatever, for fraud. We're pursuing every part of it. Oh, by the way, I just a shout out to Eric Coomer, who's now following me on X.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. What is he trying to do?
Who knows?
Spook you a little bit? He's trying to be funny?
You can't spook me. It's been 5 years. You can't spook me.
Because he's coming after you next.
I just want a
now
cage
he's following
match.
you.
I want a cage match.
Yeah.
That's all I want. I mean, just give that to me. Come on, give a dog a bone. No holds bar. We'll go into it, right? Although, actually, after I'm done with levying the beating, I would probably go straight to making them talk. Start breaking fingers. Okay, can't say that, can I?
No, you're not allowed to. You're banned, Joe, from saying that.
Oh, it's terrible. I was going through bless you. I was going through all of the social posts and everything else going back to 2020. And, the 6th and the 7th and the 8th and 9th. And so I made pictures of posts and I went back through it and I found a couple of really amazing posts on my phone. So I called my lawyer and I'm like, oh, there's trouble to be had here. We're going after these people. And, but you could see the progression of anger in me from the 9th of November all the way through and how it grew. And I got to the pictures of my wife and my daughter having to sit in a car outside of the house because hazmat and the FBI, by the way, the FBI never came to talk to me. They were at my house because somebody put poison or put powder in the mail and sent it to terrorize my family. And then they never came to talk to me. But just imagine that. They don't come to talk to you. I don't. The last 5 years has been very difficult for me. And in essence, I don't really want to be an influencer. I don't want to be you.
I love being me, Joe. It's a lot of fun.
You're pretty good at it. You're pretty good at it. But
I'm good at being me. I've been me since the day I was born. So I've kind of learned how to do it.
But 3 times I've run up followers on X. And twice I've been banned. Now I don't know, lose a couple thousand people. And I ask Grok questions and Grok comes back with some smart ass response that basically parrots all the radical leftist comments. Now we have could only be described as kabuki theater inside of the Trump campaign. And I'm not sure he can see it. I'm not sure President Trump can see it through the success that he's had. But it's just not the right success. I look at the last 4 years and 5 years and I go, I've seen people like Steve Friend and Kyle Seraphin, them get stripped of their livelihoods. Kyle and Emily she was pregnant and they were homeless because he made a decision to stand up for the American people. And pieces of trash out there attack Kyle and say, oh, you don't know. People that aren't even real people, Matt. They're bots and people that sit in their basement and whack off to cartoon porn. That's the type of people that stand up behind people like Julie Kelly and others that they have the mic because they have built a fraternity of just shitty people, just crappy, shitty people who, by the way, have never accomplished a thing in their lives. Never, ever accomplished, have taken money from other people and that's how they made a living. Never built a company, never had employees, never did any of those things. Or that's my case.
That's Joe Biden 2.0. You spend your entire life taking from systems rather than building them. The worst type of people by far. And there's so many of them now. In fact, arguably most people in our government right now are in that camp who, if you had them try to start from the ground up, they wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't stand a chance. So it's great to hear from those guys. It really is. And I certainly hope that one day we'll look back and say, these shows that we did, these efforts that we made, talking to them, letting them tell their story, them being able to grow their own platforms, Elon Musk doing what he's done. We'll look back and say, this is what made the difference. Because we did that and they did that and we worked together on this, we now no longer have a corrupt system. We now can feel comfortable that the government agencies will go after who they're supposed to without spying on us unfairly. That would be incredible. And maybe it'll happen. I'm not totally holding out on the possibility because there are so many people who genuinely care. And if that is unlocked, it will get better.
So somebody said, Joe, how did Julie Kelly betray J6ers? Okay, I'll tell you how. There's a J6er that was just in jail for a long time. Julie Kelly stood up for J6ers. So two things can be true at the same time. You can have someone that stands up for what is right, J6ers, and we need to take care of J6ers, and still be controlled opposition. In order to get people on our side, they have to take a hill to die on. And that hill to die on wasn't something that, like, J6ers were not a threat. J6ers, I mean, I just put it this way. Jake, what's Jake's last name?
Which one?
Jake, the crazy Jake.
Lang.
Jake Lang. Jake Lang is not a guy that they have to worry about. Like, he's not a force to reckon with, right? He's not a guy that you know, he's a promoter. And so he's not a risk. So you can use that as your plate. I'm going to go after it. And two things can be true. You could also say that the reason why, going after Kyle, and the reason why J6ers got what they want, and the reason why all this stuff happened, and now they could stand, and they said, okay, now we have this person, Julie Kelly, that has credibility, but so we can have her attack Kyle Seraphin and turn the Mean Girls Club against Kyle and Steve and Garrett. And, oh, by the way, when something comes out, we can just rely on Julie Kelly because we made Julie Kelly the one that gave tens of thousands of dollars to Democrats. That's a true story. Tens of thousands of dollars to Democrats, candidates. But now she can be the one to say, hey, you can't talk about Julie Kelly. Hey, by the way, Steve Friend, you have to get rid of Kyle Seraphin because he attacked Julie Kelly. And so all these little pieces, all these doors closed. And at the very front of that is, guess what? Julie Kelly. The AIPAC, top tip of the spear, on all the shows, spokesperson, controlled opposition person that blocks anybody who has integrity. That's the reality. And I hear about it from people who are like, Joe, I was told I can't talk to you because Julie Kelly. I'm like, fuck Julie Kelly. Sorry, that's the reality. That's how I feel.
I'm looking into her now. And of course, if you're
She's
following me on X, you probably have some amount of, it's not a total gauge because, you know, I'm just a guy, right? Not everyone's going to be following me or not. But I will say most of the time when someone is following me, there's a pretty high probability they're going to be someone who is based. If they're not, there is at least a 50-50 chance that they're going to be someone who would have a problem with systems really getting fixed. That's a metric I use. Maybe it's flawed. Maybe it's too egotistical to use that, but that's what I do. And so looking at Julie Kelly, not following me, she's following 1,900 people. We can look through and see some of the people she's following. Tom Homan, Bill Esley, a few other people. I mean,
Tom Homan's a good guy.
Let's see what she's posting about.
You can have good guys in the middle of it, but doesn't mean that they're good guys. Do you know how much I got trashed when I built Frank's Speech? I got trashed. I got trashed by people trashed. Like we had what's his face? What's that guy's name? The little short guy who ran Frank's Speech before I got there, and $800,000 a month, charged Mike Lindell. I mean, they built Mike out of just $10 million like that. It was crazy. Brennan House. Okay. I come in, I'm like, Mike, I'm going to cut your bills by 80%. Shit's going to get better. And I'm going to build you a new platform. So I did. Then I was like, he's like, oh, I want to do this raise. It's called crowdfunding raise. And I was like, no, we're going to go find so I got on the stage and I'm like, here's what we're going to do. And then I went and I did it. I took him public in 9 months. 9 months I took Frank's Speech public and got everything done. And then Mike screwed me. And then, but the people around him, when I took over from Brandon House, I had to literally, Brandon House turned off the power on Tuesday. And by Wednesday, I had to have everything back up and running. We did all of that. Bought equipment, did it while the plane was in the air. And these pieces of shit, including Guys are in the deal that wanted to treat me like I was a $5 slave. Like the people that ran stuff for Lou Dobbs. If I could share with you all the videos, the recordings that I have, because I kept them all. I have them all. I have videos of people inside of the whole thing. I go back and I listen to them and I'm like, these pieces of shit. But I did all of that. Took them all the way up, and then they stole a bunch of money from me. So I left. Right? And everybody wants to know what happens. Well, I get taken out. I didn't get taken out. I walked away, Matt. I walked away, told them all to piss off. Because I didn't want to be a part of this little thing. But this little crew that you have with Julie Kelly and these other people, they've built a fraternity of really bad people. They're just really bad people.
Does Mike by any chance owe you $4 million?
Yeah,
just wondering. Okay, it's $4.1 million. Yeah, that's a pretty big. It's a pretty big amount to owe someone. Hopefully, it does.
My phone's not ringing soon. My phone's not ringing.
Especially with the case and it being a relatively big win in terms of the.
It was a huge win. And guess who showed up for 2 days?
That should get the ball rolling out.
Guess who showed up for 2 days?
You did. You may have been a big reason why
it wasn't the $60 million. Absolutely.
You probably just saved Mike a lot of money.
$50 million. I saved him his company. I could tell you this without a doubt. If I wouldn't have shown up and the jury didn't actually understand what really happened, because I didn't give a crap what the judge said. Judge is like, you're under a motion in limine. Means you can't, and I'm not even a part of the case, so I shouldn't be subject to it. Motion in limine means you can't talk about all these things. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to talk about them anyway. And the judge would be like, you can't talk about that. And I'm like, what, do you want me to lie? I said it in front of the jury. Do you want me to lie? She's like, no. I was like, great. I'm just telling you what the truth is. But how do you want me to do this? And so I put her in a rock and a hard spot the entire time. But I stood up for 2 days. I took a beating for 2 days. And do you know what the media did for those 2 days? They completely froze out my name. Because there's people like Julie Kelly and other people that put their fingers on the media and say, don't talk about Joe Altman. There's a fear of the fact that I'm competent and that I understand what the hell I'm talking about. And I built from cocktail napkins what these little pieces of shit couldn't do if you gave them $1 billion. Yeah, Matt, I'm angry. I feel like I need a couch. Couch and a therapist.
Oh, you got the couch. So that's step one.
Chair.
That's maybe you can put it together and make a couch.
We'll
figure it out. We'll get your couch, Joe. Yeah. That's an important part of the process.
And and it's not like I'm bitching about it. You know what I'm bitching about? This. Ukraine. Should we talk about it? Not talk about the fact that basically everyone's shyster.
Yeah. I think we should, you know what we should do? We should probably why don't we send Ukraine our entire military? Why don't we send them every single piece of military equipment we have? That's a great idea. Go ahead and play this. Go ahead and play B1. This is insane to me. After all that has happened, all that we've heard from Trump and from people around him, for this to be the next step is arguably the most frustrating thing. There's been a lot of them recently. This may be the most. Play B1.
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
How about you just stop fighting? Why did Lindsey Graham go over there and play war cop, and then all of a sudden now we're giving stuff over to him? And look, I don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. I don't have debriefs, right? I don't have any of the bluffs. I don't have any of that. Here's what I have: 4 years of being told that I did something wrong. Well, these stupid fucks and these liars are able to just do whatever they want. Sorry, I need to probably stop talking about how disappointed I am, because I am deeply disappointed.
There's a lot of problems with Russia. If you live there, dealing with the government, dealing with the systems, it is not easy. Again, a lot of problems. But if it came down to it, the Ukrainian government is probably, in my opinion, significantly worse. What would you rather choose? Would you rather live in Ukraine or Russia, specifically looking at the systems that are in place, the leadership in charge? I don't think it's even a close debate. I would pick Russia over Ukraine. I would pick the United States over Russia easily. And I think the United States is massively flawed. I would pick a lot of countries over Russia, but I would still pick Russia over Ukraine because that is how bad Ukraine has gotten. So the idea that it is somehow a win for Ukraine to remain independent from Russia, I don't even know if that is necessarily true, especially since Russia doesn't even want all of Ukraine. They just want some of the specific parts of it. Many of those places, the people there agree with me, and they're voting to be part of Russia. Propaganda, they say, I don't think so. That's common sense. Why wouldn't you want to be if you're in that scenario? You'd rather get dragged out of your home and forced to fight and die in a war, or would you rather be part of Russia and then you can live a normal life? I don't think, I understand the premise was set up to that because of what Putin did, etc. Putin is wrong. He shouldn't have involved that many deaths in terms of bombing cities and other stuff. Yeah. We can agree with all of that. But at the end of the day, it is so frustrating to me to see Trump saying we're going to spend more of our resources on Ukraine, a country that isn't grateful for it, a country that doesn't comply, after how disrespectful Zelensky was in the Oval Office over and over again. And even beyond that, after he has now become a dictator basically in Ukraine. A little ironic, considering Russia also has a dictatorship in place. But still, that's what's happened. It's no longer a democracy. I don't really see much of a difference, except that Zelensky may be one of the most evil people currently on the planet. And I hope nothing more than for them to not get any more weapons from us, especially if they want to do their own thing. Whatever. I hate that. I hope Trump somehow, some way goes away from that, but I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to get worse. I think there's going to be not just defensive stuff. We're going to send them more money too. And Trump's going to be telling us it's good somehow after saying for months that it was very bad. Full 180.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now we have Sean Parnell that's said that they're going to send additional defense weapons to Ukraine to ensure Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace and ensure the killing stops. You're not going to stop the killing by having defensive weapons unless you put up a dome. Don't do that, great. But the reality of it is that you cannot get through what is happening in that country because it is rotted to the core. It is absolutely rotted to the core. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, I 100% have spent the last 5 years bleeding Trump. I have literally, last year it was over 200 flights. And I know that I should have been more critical at times, and now I'm critical.
200 flights is a lot of flights. Does that include all flights or specifically flights to DC and other places, etc.?
It's 200 flights last year. I don't know.
That's a lot of flights.
Most of those were to go talk to people in different states. And you know what Kyle said when he said, hey, you're just here to educate. We can't actually get things done. Like, we're not solving the problem. Like we are, when he set out to solve the problem for the border, he solved it. It's solved.
Until he grants amnesty. And then is it still solved after that? If he grants amnesty to a bunch of people, what's the incentive? Now they want to come back again. So I don't know if even that, we can give him some credit, but only if he remains strong on the border. If he does not do amnesty, if he cares about the deportations like he said he's going to, he has the budget now, then and only then will I give him credit. We're going to have to give him more time to prove that he really is on our side when it comes to this. Otherwise, I don't even know about that. It's just L after L after L. Oh, better than Kamal? Yeah, it is easily, but it's still very frustrating. I don't know how much more of this I can take before I start going into a higher level of criticism than I'm at now.
He's back. All right, bring him in as we play cut B4, because this will be fun. Kyle's gonna have a lot to say about this.
But that was a war that should have never happened, and a lot of people are dying, and it should end. And I don't know, we get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Do you want to sanction him? Lindsey Graham has a sanctions bill on Russia. Do you want him to move?
I'm looking at it. Yeah, no, I'm looking. The Senate is passed a very, very tough sanctions bill. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Can you sign that?
It's an optional bill. It's totally at my option. They pass it totally at my option, and to terminate totally at my option. And I'm looking at it very strongly.
Yesterday you said you want to sanction.
I said I would never stand on the side of the devil, not even for a day. Kyle, what say you?
I say you have to not make peace with evil. You have to destroy it. I've got a St. Michael the Archangel's like animated GIF that I have on my phone that I regularly send to people when they sort of imply that somebody should compromise morals for just a minute because any reason. And I'm willing to do that to, even to my own detriment. Like I might tell the truth and then lose my job and then have to sell my house and then make my babies homeless and keep my pregnant wife in a 300 square feet with her in-laws for 6 months and damage the relationship with my parents for 6 months and have to go on repair mode for a while. Like I'm willing to do that. Because I'm not going to make peace with evil, and I won't ever do it. It's just not how I'm wired. I'll just pick the fight, man. And if that means, you know what it is, Joe? Because you and I have the same instinct, and Matt, I don't know you well enough, but like this is the way that it works.
You know me well enough.
If you've ever seen the end of Game of Thrones, right? And Jon Snow walks out into the field of battle and he's standing in muck and his boots are all covered in crap and there's just shit everywhere. And he just draws the sword and there's 1,000 guys riding at him and he's like, F it. I'm just going to take out whoever's next to me, however long I'm standing. That's what's happening. If you're near me, I got one of my buddies sent me this, Joe. You'll get appreciated. This is actually we should make it as a gag gif. It's a appendix holster. Okay. But instead of having a magazine in the front of it, it's a Claymore mine. And it just says, I may not win, but we're all going to lose. Just screw you. I'm not making peace with evil, no matter what.
For the record, Kyle, my instinct is just to say, all right, evil, please stop. Please, just don't be evil anymore. It works every time. It works every single time. Don't worry.
Yeah, evil obviously always takes the shortest road.
If you just say please loud enough, then you're good to go. So how do we do this?
I had a friend that used to say that every time something bad would happen, he would just go, nuts. And you're like, nuts? That's the most power. He's like, you know what? No one says that anymore. Shoot. Yeah, just like a man who doesn't swear and says like a Jimmy Stewart movie or something, like a 1920s. Nuts. They did it again and got away with it. Yeah, I don't have that instinct. I can't abide with that. That's from the Big Lebowski, This aggression will not stand, man. When evil's evil, it's evil. We call it out. And then whatever it takes, it costs whatever it costs. That's why I want to puke when I hear people like James O'Keefe say that, for the record. My cost is my life. My price is my life. Dude, your price is I would run my forehead through your chin because he's taller than me, but I would headbutt him to death.
James O'Keefe is throwing parties in Miami, drinking, having fun. Right. And right. I would love to see James O'Keefe because he is talented. I would love to see him take the investigative work just as seriously as he did before. And maybe that'll happen. I certainly hope it does.
Fraud. He's a complete and utter fraud. I hate to
you should not have gone
people.
There. This is
It's true though. He's a fraud. He was a fraud to me. I watched him have a 28-year-old assistant tie his shoe because he just couldn't. He wears body armor. I watched him spray gray into his hair before we went out on the stage on America Fest. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, why do you have gray spray paint in your hair? And he's like, oh, it's like a whole persona. I had people that were really close to James for a long time say that James is not a journalist. He's an actor playing a journalist.
You mean like
and he's convinced a lot of people, just not me. I look through crap for a living. I immediately, do you know how many people have come to me, Matt, and told me that they used to respect James because they worked for him. They felt like they were in the cult of Project Veritas. Former Project Veritas employees reach out to me and go, the first time that I saw that James was full of crap was when I saw you look at him, and I suddenly realized that everything that man said was a lie. And it is. He's a liar. He's a deeply, I do not make peace with evil. Dudes who run around and use donor money to go bang their randos on Instagram are not. They're not going to make peace with
you. Open this door. I just want you to
open the doors. James O'Keefe is getting blasted.
Sorry.
We'll have to set up the boxing match.
Here's the best part. James O'Keefe has requested or subpoenaed me to go and testify in his countersuit. I have no idea what kind of crazy person would want me to testify on their behalf, but he somehow thinks that I dismantled Project Veritas. That's what they're trying to prove. They're trying to create a fake documentary that's going to slander me and say that I somehow stole $10 million and broke his organization.
You don't have to go.
I talked to a couple of lawyers. They all said I do.
They said you do. Yeah. So
yeah, they did.
You will under a. So I would make it hard. I would call them and say, I'm not going. Here's what he did. right? And here's what he continues to do, and I'm not going to.
I'm going to live stream the damn thing, Joe, or we're going to tape it and we're going to show it afterwards. I have nothing to hide about it.
I want to come.
The length of the things that I know and the time that I spent with James O'Keefe, it's literally 3 times I've ever met the guy. I've never been to Project Veritas's headquarters. I have nothing to do with their organization. They said, send me all your contacts with anybody from Project Veritas. I don't know who even worked there. I don't even know who to send them. The discovery is even stupid. And then he wanted all my journalistic sources, by the way. He said, send me all your sources. The irony of James O'Keefe demanding that a guy who works in media send over all of his sources. Seriously, the sooner that the conservative right wakes up to not having these people in their midst, the better we'll be.
But we can't because they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
And James, he would be smart not to
right
agree.
Where we want him.
Yeah, I mean, he would be smart not to agree to the boxing match because, they're trained FBI agent, good with firearms. So much for that. But try fighting a man.
He's got 40 pounds on me and probably 6+ inches. I'm serious. Like I weigh like $180. He probably weighs like 230, something like that, maybe more.
Yeah, but try fighting a man who was just forced to be in a 300 square foot room with a pregnant wife and kids. I don't think you're not going to. Good luck with
for
that.
A year. Yeah, no, I'd break his kidneys. I would do such serious damage to him with gloves on, like as padded as you want. We could do 18-ounce gloves. We could have custom 18-ounce gloves, Joe.
My friend Frank upstairs has arms that are this big around. You can't see how big that is, but he's big. You saw Frank.
Yeah, Frank's a big guy.
He's a big guy, right? Big arms. And
I love that. I love that as a compliment, by the way, when you tell someone, it's like, you got big arms. And the guys are always like, thanks, bro.
He's jacked. I mean, he's jacked.
Thanks for noticing.
And it's hard not to notice. I mean, the guy's got arms as big as my head. And but we were talking, he's like, you're kind of angry. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm really angry.
Super angry.
Because people should not poke you right now. I'm thinking to myself, that's a really good idea. You want to take over my socials for a couple of days, just like warn people, like this is not the guy to piss off right now.
Yeah. I mean, in the special operations world, they talk about flipping the switch.
Yeah.
Guys who have done incredible amounts of violence and then they then they go back to like hang out with their kids and then they flip the switch and they go to war and they can flip the switch and turn it off. Mm-hmm. It takes a certain kind of mindset. Joe can flip the switch. I've seen you.
I can. Yeah, sure.
I'll flip the switch. It's like somebody who was talking to me the other day. Was it Joe? It wasn't you on the phone. Where was it when I was talking to my kids? I walked in the door and I went from like war mode to dad mode. It's really funny.
I've seen you do it before, though. I've seen you do it before.
It's so dramatic. I'll be on the phone and I'm like raging about something that's happening in the national political sphere, or like the fact that we're all like dealing with injustice everywhere. I straight up walk in, and it's like I got my little like 22-month-old daughter who's gorgeous, and she walks up and she's like, Dada. She's like, I love you, Dada. And I'm like, whatever, dude. Like, I'm done with the anger. If I walk back outside, but if you showed up at my door, if the wrong person was outside and I opened the door, I'm putting a tomahawk through their face, and then I'm going to close the door, and then I'm going to go back to my babies. So I'm just telling you, like, that's what it's all about. It's like, how do I destroy the evil? The evil destruction is not for like the sake of evil. And it's not because it's like really exciting or fun. I'm not thrilled about it. It's because there are people that rely on me, and it is my job to shield them from evil. There are 4 little people in the world, and also my wife, who I have to look out for, because she's not very big. She's from New York, but she's tiny. You've seen my wife. She's like under 5 feet tall. So my job is to be the nastiest, most aggressive monster that can exist with the most lethal capabilities, so that nothing ever touches the people that are in my cave behind me. And I'll stand at the mouth of the cave all day long.
Yesterday, my oldest told me, she said, Dad, I'll always be there for you, in a way cuter voice than I'm capable of replicating.
Yeah, I love it.
But there's no better feeling than that, and it just makes you want to go all. I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't do for them, and I love that. But I want to know, the FBI right now. We just had Steve coming on and explaining how the way the system works, it breeds ineptitude. It is designed to make anyone who has integrity that comes in, they are confused. Maybe they're out of their league a little bit, and it's designed to make it so that no real change can happen, to protect the interests of those who are already part of it. They don't want everything looked into, all the bad stuff they've done. They want to keep their high paychecks and everything else. How do we really fix it? It takes more than just someone with integrity going in. What is it going to take to get to a place where we can trust that the system our government has in place, legally speaking, is going to protect us, not hurt us?
So we lost that opportunity. That opportunity, I think, is probably gone. There may be some sort of it would have to be a dramatic change for us to be able to go through and re-access the energy and the initial thing. They tell you when you're a kid that you never get a second chance to make a first impression. This is something that is very true in law enforcement as well, and they teach it to you in a different way. You never get a second chance to touch a subject for the first time, which is to say, if you're going to go put cuffs on somebody and you do it gently and you touch them with like soft fingers and it looks like you have lotion and maybe like a nice scented soap that you use, they will fight you to the death. And you will have to either put them down or they might put you down. Like there's a real possibility that someone decides today's not the day I'm going to go to jail. So when you put cuffs on people and you know what it involves to go forward and to touch someone for the first time, and they are going to understand all of your intentions. Are you playing? Are you nice? Do you not want to be here? Do you not believe in this? Or are you committed the way I just told you that, like, are you willing to put a tomahawk in my head and walk away and then go have pancakes with your friends? That's the thing that has to happen. That did not happen. So we missed that opportunity, just so you know. They came in soft. They came in limp. They came in like friendly and not cutting throats. The way that it needed to happen was, so we can go back imaginary, there may or may not have been an entire slide deck. This slide deck existed. I brought a dozen capable people who were former FBI agents and analysts, people who were whistleblowers and retired. Usually, if you're a whistleblower, you don't get to retire. So, whatever. Usually get destroyed. We brought them all in and we put together this slide deck. And the slide deck was like day 0 actions, what needed to happen. And there was a lot of 0-day actions that needed to happen before Kash Patel even showed up, if he was going to be the guy. Kash Patel could be the same Kash Patel today and be successful if he had the right partner who came in first. The DAG, the the Deputy Attorney General, needed to appoint someone who came in like an assassin and gave every single person one choice. There's no other choice. The choice is, I would like you to do the thing I just need you to do. Give these people clearances back. Reinstate the following people. Suspend these people. And if the answer is, well, I don't think we can do that, it's like, cool, you're now suspended. You've been relieved of responsibility. You now report to your house until we take you off admin leave. Who's your acting? Okay, you're next. Do you want to do what I say, or do you want to also be on suspension? And every person has to say yes, or they're freaking suspended and then eventually fired. There's no room at all for like, well, we normally wait till a new pay period before we bring on a new employee, or like, there's a little process. Screw your process. It has been declared by the person who runs the entire DOJ. That's the DAG, the Deputy Attorney General. Sure. They run the entirety of the FBI. There are direct reports in the FBI to the DAG, and the DAG is the person who decides, this person is my delegate. They're going to go do these things. Do them or you're gone. And will remove you for insubordination, which is a terminable offense. Because you chose to say no to a lawful required order. The same crap they tried to pull on us for COVID. Oh, it's a lawful order that you have these things happen. I'm like, no, it's a violation of Title VII. You can't give a lawful order that breaks the law. But you can give a lawful order that you're going to instate this clearance because we said so. You're going to give interim clearances and you're going to transfer the following people. So we set up a list of the throats that need to be cut. Every single person that was in what's called an executive assistant director role, they need to be removed. There were 6 of them, I believe. Every single person who was an AD needed to be removed. Now, we needed to do it tactically. So the tactical way to do that we came up with was every single special agent in charge of the field office, which is an SES position, a senior executive service, every single one of them was immediately going to be put on administrative leave pending either retirement or termination, and let them know that your time at the FBI is over. We would then take all of the GS-15s, what are called the ASACs. Those ASACs would then become the acting special agent in charge of the field office and run those offices. There's 56 locations. Now we've created 56 locations where we can move people out to the field. And then we'd go through all of our ADs, our assistant directors, and find out, well, you live in Washington, D.C. right now, and you really like working for the FBI, and isn't that great? But that's a privilege. And you have a mobility agreement that says you will move to the place based on the needs of the FBI. And you're needed in Minneapolis. Oh, you thought you were going to retire to Alaska? You're needed in Miami, Florida. Oh, you really wanted to stay here in Richmond, Virginia? That's where you thought you were going to go? You're actually going to Puerto Rico via Con Dios. Pack every single one of these people up and give them an assignment. And then the alternative is they can actually retire. You're either going to move to where we say, or you're going to retire. And it is a privilege to run an FBI field office. You should be so lucky.
Puerto Rico's nice, by the way. I would probably pick that. I lived in Puerto Rico.
I would have moved
nice.
every damn one of those people to Puerto Rico. That was an alternative. I said, Kash, you should set up an RA, a resident agency, that is now the home for every senior executive service person in the FBI, and move every single one of them on a paid move to Puerto Rico. Put them all there. Why? Because they're not where you are. They can't screw with what you're doing. They can't talk to their minions. They're going to put them on a different, send them all to Guam. Put them on a different time zone where they can no longer screw with you.
But instead, they
capsize the entire island, put them all on Guam, put a bunch of six-figure salaries, people making $195,000 a year, $205,000 a year, send their asses to Guam and let them all go hang out there on the beach and do absolutely nothing, because it's cheaper to pay them to do nothing than have the American people in danger from an intelligence agency that's going to kill us.
Well, what you need to know, though, is...
You're fired.
If you put too many people on Guam...
Okay, Hank.
And they get on one side,
we're worried about it capsizing.
It's going to flip over.
That came in a question, by the way. That exchange was Hank Johnson asking a question, and he said, "Admiral." He was talking to an admiral. He said, "Are we not concerned that the island might capsize if there's too many people on one side?" And the guy looked like someone. He looked at Hank like he had a dick growing out of his forehead, and he was like,
"No, that's not." He answered it.
We are. I know he said we are not currently concerned about that possibility. Which, good on him for keeping a straight face.
That was a real question, though.
It was a real question on the record of Congress. Yeah. In the same way that Sheila Jackson, Democrat, is asked a question about Kyle Seraphin. I was mentioned multiple. She asked a question. Let me ask you a question there, Chris Ray.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
By the way, guess who the one justice is that voted against the 8-1 decision to allow Trump to cut federal employees?
The see you next Tuesday. The see you next Tuesday. That doesn't.
I bet she says a lot of words. Does she say the most words of any of the people that say words?
The most words.
Kajani.
Yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, I have the numbers. Numbers spoken by Supreme Court justices in the 2024 term as of November the 15th. So this was right after the election, in the last year of Biden's term. She spoke 22,718 words. The next most words were spoken by Elena Kagan, who spoke 16,495 words. And the next most words were the second or third dumbest person, which was Sotomayor at 14,787. And because conservatives are such racists, we would prefer a Supreme Court only made of Clarence Thomases.
Yes.
9 Clarence Thomases. Yeah, and he spoke 3,800 words.
Yeah.
He spoke the least number of words.
All 9 of him equals less than Ketanji. That's crazy. That is crazy to think about. And even Sotomayor was basically chastising her, like, you don't know how this works. How are you the only one? So she's just an activist. That's all she is. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, no, she's the worst. She's a midget too. She's like a legit weird looking midget. Have you seen
tiny
her?
brain? She's a tiny person.
Is she a lizard?
I hate her.
Let's just get right into the Q stuff.
Is she a possible lizard? I don't think she's a lizard. She would be some kind of a different. She might be a toad. If she's an amphibian of any kind, she's going to be like a. She's not a lizard. Lizards have like predatory capabilities.
So
that's insulting to lizards, Joe.
Yeah, it is. I think she's prey.
I have one question.
I hope I get asked about this one day under oath somewhere, because there's a real possibility that anything I ever say out in public will be. Is that your lizard face? That is not a good lizard. You're not good at this. You should not do impressions of lizards. You have a different calling. Nobody knows what that is.
That's the best I got, bro. Best I got. I failed art class and pretty much every other class.
I'll tell you what that was offline. I'll text it to you. I'll text you what that was offline.
Oh my gosh. But Kyle, how are we going to get funding from AIPAC and from Mossad if we actually fix these systems and they can't exploit them anymore? Don't we need that funding?
Yes.
That was.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. These systems, it's not just that they're incompetent. I actually don't. I have like a novel. I have a novel approach on the political right. Like, I don't think the real problem is the quote unquote Jews, which I spell with multiple capital and lowercase O's running all the way out to infinity. I don't think the Jews are the real problem here. To think that a country that small is running America, seems absurd to me. But what does not sound absurd is that people who run America run Israel, which turns around and has influence on America. That sounds way more plausible. If anybody thinks that the Israelis are running the United States intelligence service, I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But the idea that there are people that are running
the intel services that are pushing down on both, and they are getting some of the things they want from the Israelis, makes far more sense to me. I think that like the Jews equals the problem is like a myopic view that means you have to zoom out to like 0.5. If you moved out like on your iPhone and you zoomed out, you'd suddenly see the rest of the things in the frame.
Well,
That's my
Jews
take
are
on
not
it.
the problem. Jewish
I agree.
people, faithless,
dash
atheists,
ish.
that
Yeah,
dash
yeah.
ish, right? Those are
But-
the problem, and they're not. They're
but
not.
those people oftentimes I think are probably American or
Yeah.
global leaning Western people that have basically moved into this like secular humanist world where they think that they are now their own gods, and so whether they're Jewish or they're Christian or otherwise, or they're completely non-religious, which is nominally Christian, let's say, people who like might wear a cross for some sort of political benefit. These people, you'll know them by their fruits, and their fruits are rotten. Yeah, and they're evil. And I don't think it's AIPAC. I think all of those things are I think that's such a laser pointer. I think that's such a red herring that people get excited about. It doesn't mean there's not like nefarious crap that people do, but having worked in the intel community and worked around intel people, that's just not who's driving the mission. Yeah, but it doesn't even help them all the time.
I went to an intel meeting in Texas.
You did?
They said we have this red-green alliance, and that everybody wants to destroy Israel. And I think that's a very I personally think that's a very paranoid way of living life, and that causes you to do really bad things and justify those really bad things to people all over the world. And it typically comes down to this small group of people that are faithless, godless atheists. And frankly, a vast majority, you can't have 40% plus.
I just had this thing, Joe. If you don't eat bacon, I don't care about you.
Yeah, bacon. That's why the cheeseburger
I can't trust if you don't eat bacon.
is prime
if you don't eat bacon,
of the American white man.
Yeah, if you're in a baconless society of any flavor, then I don't care, because you're not in my society. That's not my people. Whatever it is, my people, they live in a very small, narrow. They live in this house, basically. Those are my people, and a few other places out there in the United States. Sporadically, if we're going to be tribal, I might as well embrace the sort of tribal nature of it. And we are pretty tribal right now. Yeah, and my tribe is like. My tribe wants Latin mass. My tribe wants to step back 1,500 years and just be in awe of creation and not be screwed with. And since that's not really much of an option, like the alternative is that we have to kind of be, our own version of a crusade. Like wherever we are, we're crusading for our own space. I'm crusading for the space around me to have enough room to let my babies grow up and shield that. I feel like we really got derailed here. We had some topic, but I just came in. I came in hot.
About Netanyahu. We're going to do that too.
It's been a full day.
But
I've never cared. When people when I see weird shit, and I have seen some really weird stuff, like people go, Dan Bongino, his wife is sitting on a couch, and you saw this video the other day, and they were like, they're like, what's a cause that's really near to your heart? Have you seen this video?
Oh yes.
And he's like, Israel, the defense of Israel.
It's so dumb.
I'm like, dude, I know exactly 0 people that would ever answer that question that way, ever. I don't know what would cause any person I've ever met that I know to say that. Money. It would be the weirdest. I know people who are Israeli who wouldn't even say that if you asked them. You'd be like, what cause is near to your heart? And you're like, helping people read, I don't know, like being a good neighbor. I would never be like, I just think that the survival of a country I don't live in, that I'm not from, is really super important. That's the weirdest thing to jump to. So I get why people go like, whoa, like what makes them do that? Or you see Ted Cruz tweet some weird stuff where he's like, happy 4th of July, but also here's a great thing that happened in Israel one time. And you're like, what the shit are you doing? Who talks like that? Like they are lizards, maybe. No, maybe we're there.
But here's my problem. I went to Tel Aviv.
I don't get it.
And, I had a great time, hung out with great people.
What was the motivation for going there? What was the impetus of your trip?
It was geopolitical. I was there. This is a couple years ago.
He's not going to tell us. He's going to do some spooky stuff.
You're not allowed to know.
No, it's not spooky shit.
Top secret.
No,
I know.
Loose lips sink ships, bro. Okay, listen. I was there because I had already gone to Gaza, and I had already gone to Jordan, and I had already gone to Lebanon. And while
now
I
he's
was
just
in Lebanon,
flexing. He's just passport flexing on us, Matt. Are you seeing this?
Flexing. Hold on, it gets worse. You want some more flexing? I'll bring my passport.
I know. It's going to be African nations.
Joe's been everywhere.
It is. It's like filled with stuff, right?
How many of them eat bacon?
How many countries have you been to, Joe?
65 countries.
65 is pretty good. That's a lot.
Okay. How many of them matter?
Right now, none.
One, the U.S.
America only. That's the party.
That's good. I haven't been to it. I'm here.
We're so. Listen, I'm cool with being egocentric at this point, and I'm sick of people apologizing for it.
But you go into Israel and you talk to the people.
I don't.
But
I don't.
I did. And you talk to the people off the Yellow Brick Road, right? And you go to the Dead Sea and you float it in a little bit. It's actually kind of really cool, right? But you go to
Easier to float if you're chubby. That's a fact.
No, bro, it would flip you upside down. You get up to it would even get up to your ankle. Or
I would fly, yeah, but I'm actually chubbier than I want to be. Let's be real.
Okay, so
I got 4 kids. I'm not sporting it. You know what? I have a rule, Joe. Any man who's over the age of 40 that doesn't do it for a living, that has like a 6-pack, is probably into dudes.
Yeah.
Is there like if you're not making your money with your 6-pack and you're over the age of 40,
you're gay?
I don't know. We need to study on that. I don't know. I don't know if I want to go out on that limb yet. But I'm also watching.
It's a really high percentage, Matt. It's super high.
It's high. Okay.
Yeah, so, 80 plus, maybe 90.
So I had a theory when I was over there.
Everything I do is to derail Joe. This is our
stop derailing me. This is a really important point. This is a point. So I would go there and they would tell me stories and things that happened, and I would be like, "Oh, that's terrible," right? And then I would go to Gaza and I would walk through the just destroyed areas of Gaza, even back then, right? And my heart would just be wrenching watching these children. And then I would go to Jordan, to Amman, Jordan, and I would go to some of the refugee camps there, and my mind would just be blown, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what is happening here? And then I would go to Lebanon, and I'd go to the area that is bombed out. A quarter of Beirut was completely bombed out by Israel in 2007, in the summer of 2007. And I met with Mohammed Hussein Fallah, the head of the Hezbollah, underneath, and we're the Christian group, and we're out there talking to him. And I look at this guy, and he's a terrorist, and they say he's a terrorist. But I look at him, and I'm like, that guy he's a good man. Like, people, you know, what's that? No, I don't know.
Look, I'm going to derail you on that.
I mean, the whole thing is that every country I went to, I learned something new. Go to Iraq.
Here's the problem, though, Joe, because there's a lot of empathy in that, which is good. But the other piece of it has to be, you can't save all those people. You know you can't. I can't. We're not going to do that. So the only functional way to look at that thing, for me, you tell me if I'm wrong here, is I value the people of those cultures in the same way that they value themselves.
I used to tell people, if you're going to put people if you're going to put kids up in front of munitions, if you're going to put people, if you're going to do then it's like, look, if here's why I've always sort of discounted what goes on in Islamic countries. I don't care. Like, hundreds of people every single year die trampled to death walking around in Mecca. Have you seen that? And they die of heat stroke and stuff. Yeah. Like a shocking, if we lost 3 people at a concert, that concert series would be done. Hundreds of people every year get trampled to death. It's every single time on the Hajj. It always happens. And every time I read it, I'm like, God, that's a lot of people. There are hundreds of thousands of people walking around, and they stomped a bunch of other people to death. That's crazy. Well, they don't think of human life the way that I think of human life. I know they don't, because those numbers are indicative of it. Like, the numbers that are coming out of Texas are absolutely horrific. Yes.
100 people dying in America is insane. 300 people dying in a nightclub in Dominican Republic is like Wednesday, because they have bad building codes and they don't care about things like safety and the things that we do. And it's like, people are not all, they don't all treat themselves the same way that you would treat people in your country. So anyway, I'll take them at their word on that. And there's a reason why some people I just look at the way that their culture values human life. And if it's not high, it doesn't mean that God doesn't value them. It just means that functionally I cannot value them because they're not doing the work.
Well, you could argue that people in the United States don't argue human life either, because we killed off 3 million people during COVID, and we didn't even bat an eyelash. We kill off
1 million babies every year. So I agree. Like, there's a lot of awful things that go down. And so, that's why that's how you end up really tribal. That's how you end up sitting in your house looking around going like, there's only a few people I even agree with. When I go talk to regular people, almost everywhere I go, if I go to the playground and with my kids and I'm talking to another dad, like, they're nice. We get along. It's shocking. Like, especially if you're a pessimist like I am, like, you just assume that everyone's going to disappoint you when they don't. It's really nice, which is all the time.
90-10 rule.
Like, most people will actually not disappoint you, it turns out, but there's a ton of really evil people out here in this world, and there's a ton of really bad policy. And more, I'm surrounded by, I just think we have too many people voting in this country. There are too many dumb people that have a say in what salient, intelligent people want to do. And that's probably true the world over.
Well, they're stolen. I mean, there's no free.
The elections are still, yeah. I mean,
Are you advocating to repeal the 19th? Is that
bro? I would
that
get
the
rid of the
position you're
19th in a
taking?
heartbeat. But you know what? I would actually. So somebody was like, "Well, who just people who pay income taxes? Are those the only people who should vote?" And I'm like, I don't even believe in an income tax. I think we should repeal the 16th and the 17th Amendment. I don't like it. I don't like direct election of senators. I want this country to be the mechanical foundation that it was created to be. And so, if you look at what the Constitution was supposed to be, the Senate was supposed to not be direct representation. They actually bastardized what the Senate is. Do you know that if the Senate actually represented, it was supposed to be selected by the state houses. Do you guys realize this, right? I'm probably preaching to the choir, but for the audience that's listening a little bit, the purpose of the United States Senate was to represent the state houses, and the majority of the land masses in America lean right, which would mean that we would get way less through. The best Congress for me is one that repeals 2 bills for every one that it passes, or maybe just repeals 2 bills and passes nothing. I don't need you to pass a bill. I want you to get rid of crap. The best Congress in the mind of me, like that could ever happen, would be a 100% repeal of every federal law effective at the end of this Congress term. And you now have the next 2 years to write down the scaffolding from scratch that actually lays out useful stuff instead of all the antiquated crap. There's no reason that a firearms law from 1934 has any bearing on what I own in my house. Why? What does that have to do? And it was illegal then, which we're finding out again, which is actually kind of fun. That was in the big, beautiful bill. That big fight about firearms was crazy. They actually gave up the game on that. But all of it is that. People are like, oh, when did we lose it? It's like, I don't know. How about February 2nd of 1913? That was a pretty bad day in America when they ratified these amendments that changed the fundamental way that we work. The federal government wasn't supposed to tax us. They were supposed to axe the states. They were supposed to axe them. They said, hey, states, we got these priorities. And the states went, no. Remember, there was a big tension when this country was founded that said that a central government might be the enemy. And we act now like that, like there's no other way to do it. It's like, it turns out there is.
Even the state governments have become the enemy of the people.
Yeah, it's really bad.
They are,
I would advocate.
At least they are going to have to see you.
That is true. And I would advocate for, we need mass deportations first. But imagine if for every child you have, you get 1 vote. You have a stake in the future. Therefore, you get to vote based on that. That wouldn't be a bad system, in my opinion. But we're also seeing... It
wouldn't be, but here's the thing. How about the people that are having babies out of wedlock that don't even take care of these kids? Do you get a vote? Why do people who don't actually generate anything for the country have a say in how... I don't think that somebody once told me, there's 2 types of people, some that vote for a living and some that work for a living. And I think that's far too simplistic, but there are certainly people who vote for a living. They are a voting bloc that is captivated because they are given federal subsidies for their whole life. And here's the thing, they're not thriving. If you've ever gone and done, you could do it in a nice way, in a missionary way. You can go do it as a search warrant. They're not living an awesome life. They're living horrible lives in places that you would never want. I wouldn't want it for any person. They suck at living life. And so maybe they shouldn't have a say in how the rest of us do stuff or spend our money, or they shouldn't have a vote on how my money goes to them. That seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out one day. But we're also $37 trillion in debt. They're blowing money like crazy in this new bill. Obviously, people within the 3 other agencies are advising Trump to spend more money on the military and other things. That's one of the reasons, $150 billion more in the military. We could lower it by, don't you think we could lower the military budget in half and still be the most powerful military on earth by far? Do we really need to spend $1 trillion a year on that? Wouldn't it be better to use those resources on something that was much more beneficial to our country and to our people?
What would that thing be?
I told Joe yesterday, I said on our last show, I told him, I said, what if we said the same metal, the same wood, the same resources and materials that we use to build all of these aircrafts, which we already have a lot of them. I'm not saying don't have any. We need to be strong, obviously. But what if we use those same materials and we actually build things like houses? You can't do that long-term government housing programs don't work. But imagine you did that and you just sold them for no profit. Something along those lines. I mean, again, you have to have a non-corrupt government to do anything remotely.
So that doesn't exist. And also you're talking about communism. You're talking about government being a solution. That's the worst solution. Government, in my opinion, is the worst solution to every single problem, including when it's the only solution to the problem.
It is.
It is the only way. It's the only way you can have a military, because you can't have the military beholden to private equity. But it turns out that they are. I mean,
I'm just saying, I would rather that over building more planes.
No, not me. Build all the damn planes. I build none of it is the real answer. The answer is don't do any of that stuff. So less government is better all the time. It's always the worst answer. it troubles me that we think that there's no solution out of it. Private charity has been the answer for most of human existence. The social safety nets are so abused. It's ridiculous. And anybody who's ever worked in an emergency room the way that I did, you watch people come in, they're doing things that are so illogical, that are so not beneficial to their own lives. Like we'd have dudes come in that were homeless guys, right? And they took the wambulance or the cabulance, what do we call it? They would take a ride to the ER because it was closer to the place that they wanted to go. And they'd bring their crappy bike with them too. So they're a homeless guy with a bike and they have no money, but they certainly have a couple of packs of cigarettes in their bag. So they're buying cigarettes, which are not cheap. They're actually really expensive, but they don't have $5 to put down on the medical treatment that they're demanding of the people around them who spent years and years getting in debt, who have, significant obligations. There's a huge apparatus built around them, tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment. They're going to pay nothing, but they do have a cigarette. They have their cigarettes. So they're spending their money in the worst ways. And then we send them to collections and they're never going to get out of debt because those collections will follow them forever. And so these people don't make good decisions. And the wrong answer is if we could just spend our way out of poverty, we would have already done it. If we could spend, by people who are not in houses have chosen not to be in houses on purpose, like through their actions. And maybe they need to be institutionalized and locked up. And there's an argument for that, for the public good and for their good. Sure. We did a study that this is actually really useful, Matt. This is something that it was one of the most impactful classes I ever had in college, which wasn't my favorite thing to do. This course, I studied the American federal government in terms of utopias. All right. And it was almost a literature class for a politics, what do you call it? For a political science class. It was essentially a literature class. We read stories of utopias, literary works. You read Plato's Republic, you read a bunch of like antiquities, then you move forward and you read some more modern ones. And the idea is there are basically three ways that you have perfect society, which you're talking about, right? Everybody has housing, the perfect government, non-corrupt, all this crap.
That's for the record. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't think
but there's only three ways that this can happen.
If you're doing drugs, you don't deserve a house. I'm talking about the people, and I'll let you finish in a second. I just want to clarify. I'm talking about young people who are working hard, and I'm not saying they should get the house for free, but maybe there'd be some way, and again, it would be better to do private, you're right, but I'd rather spend the money and resources on that. I'm between the two options.
Why do they not have a house now? Like,
because the government has made it impossible through the inflationary policies and through the debt and through the mass immigration to make there not be the scarcity is a problem with the home. So it's very difficult.
I agree with the scarcity issue. Yeah, we've obviously added way too many people. So the pressure is on, there's too much population and they are getting money that's subsidized. So all those things are problematic. Yeah, I agree with you. But like, you solve those problems. You don't need to buy them a house. You don't need to give them a house. You just need to get rid of the underlying causes. You need to, like, this is a supply and demand curve thing. And you can very directly reduce the demand by not having people live here. When you go and see the way that goes back to my third world point, when you see the way that some people will live, if you come to America, you have to live like Americans. You can't put 25 people into a 3-bedroom house. You can't do it. I don't want you as my neighbor. And you're going to inevitably, you're going to accept a substandard living. It's not going to be that I'm going to bring you up. You're going to bring me and all my family down. So you don't get to come here and do that. And that's how you have to be really selective. So I agree with you on the immigration. Like, all of these people have to go away. But to the point is, and this is where the pie in the sky gets really difficult, and this is why the original American system works better. You got three options. There's exactly three choices. You can have perfect land. That means no scarcity, unlimited resources, unlimited space, unlimited capabilities to feed and house and take care of people. Unlimited land, a perfect land is one utopia. The other one is a perfect people who work in harmony, that have impeccably perfect interactions between each other. They're always doing the right thing for the right reasons, to the right thing, and they survive because of that. And the last one is a perfect system. None of those things are real. None of them exist. The American experiment was the closest that you could get. Christian people who theoretically at least aspired to be closer to perfect. A land that was not perfect, but had capable and close to unlimited resources, at least in their estimation at the time, and even today has a huge amount of resources. And a system of government that is not perfect, but is darn close because it balances and does the best. So you did the best, you hedge your bet on the best of those three capabilities. That's what the American experiment is. And we undermined it 100 years in. 100 years into it, we screwed up the system. And so that's a lot of our problems. You can run back, we're not dealing with problems from our lifetime or even our parents' lifetime. We're talking about things that are about 100 to 125 years old. And we're on a slow decline because of them. That's the Kyle Seraphin take. We could fix the structure in a much more impressive way than we could probably fix a lot of these other issues.
You got to get rid of the Fed first.
Right, which is obviously, you're going to, like I said, 1913, 1908. You can walk back to that period. How we did so much damage in those 5 years that we are still seeing the echo.
It basically created a fiefdom, a kingdom.
It's the equivalent of pulling all of the bottom of the Jenga tower out, and now we are resting on one single block, and the entire scaffolding is just balancing up there. And so everything you do, this is how people get captured. You asked a question, I think, earlier about, like, how do these guys end up being captured? How do you end up with someone who doesn't? How do you not know what the right thing to do is? How do you not go out and serve the people that elected you? And the answer is because the people that are keeping that tower of bullshit balanced, they actually do know that if you go too far one side or the other, it all falls down. The question is that chaos that we're willing to accept, and nobody is willing to do the long-term work, which is that we have an unsustainable system. Everyone knows it. So you've got two choices. You can continue to balance the bullshit, and you can build the tower taller, and it'll go tower until it no longer can, until the entire the fundamental beam. Yeah, it'll all fall at some point. So the question is how long you can prolong that. That was the whole idea behind Keynesian economics. Can you keep the economy at 11 o'clock with optimal growth at all times? And the answer is like, they're going to do it by printing money. Like, it's given to the people that are going to screw with you. If you had perfect people in that system, then the answer would be yes. But because you don't have any of those three perfects, the answer is no. Like, it's proven. That's why a house cost $5,000 in the 1970s down the street from me. And those houses are $500,000 today, and they're shitholes. They're terrible.
They are. Like, and the problem is the government got us 30. The answer is always less government. But when you're $37 trillion in debt, something has to be done to solve that. Some way we have to have enough smart people who are willing to do this or that in order to not have such a big financial burden on our kids and on their kids that it's going to be impossible to live comfortably. So we have to do something now. It's so broken that now it needs to be fixed. If it hadn't been broken in the first place, that would be great. So I wouldn't mind seeing some resources being devoted instead of the military to other things. At this point, I mean, it's just I have this mindset of screw it. It all sucks. They've ruined it so much. I don't even care anymore. Maybe the housing program, you still have to pay for it, but there's no profit margin. I don't care. I just do something other than throw all of our money down the drain of foreign wars that don't matter. That's it just pisses me off.
I think we should give it to cloud seeding operations.
That's a great idea.
Wash it
I like
away.
that.
Well, I want you to know this. This was just confirmed, and this is an update. Just so you know, this is
confirmed by whom? Well, first of all, confirm what it is, and then we'll confirm by whom.
This is a congressional hearing. No, I'm sorry. It's not a congressional hearing. It's a hearing in Louisiana about cloud seeding. And just days before what happened in Texas happened, they were cloud seeding in Texas.
Yeah, I know that. They were doing it in a district that was not affected per se. So listen, here's the problem. I don't think we have nearly as much. Yeah, no, we don't have nearly as much control. People talk about weather mods and all the kind of things. Yeah, those exist. If you've ever talked to people that are in those programs or that have worked in the military apparatus that's funding it, it's like, if they were as good as doing that, why would they be dicking over? Like, you wouldn't be doing experiments over Texas. They are able to cloud seed. What they were doing was supposed to be hail mitigation. And yes, do I think that we push on things and then not know what happens next? I think that happens all the time. I think we dick around with what God's powers are regularly. But cloud seeding happens. Like it does TMS. Happen. What is it?
It's like TMS. There's this transcranial, what's it called? You have the ability to change basically the personality of an individual. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. Anyway,
well, that it can't be TMS. It has to have a C in it if it's transcranial, doesn't it?
No, transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Got it. Okay, TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation. Yeah, they can do all kinds of wild stuff. In fact, we have electronic energy weapons that do that kind of stuff. They can far more easily do that. But here's the deal: why, if they're doing this stuff, I don't think that's going to end up being the root cause for whatever it's worth.
So let's at least
of those floods. Those were in the flood zone, Joe. That's the big thing.
They were in the flood zone. You're absolutely right. But seven inches of rain. Look, it's not even normal that you're in the middle of a landmass. It's not normal. And 7 inches of rain fall in less than 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Problem is, it happened in the 1930s. It happened in 1987. It happened in 2002. It happens like every 40 to 50 years. It happens. People who've lived in Texas for a long time know that flash floods are part of life. And those areas they get flooded. There's a reason why they're like, you can go look at the flood zone. They had almost in the same exact place as the little Christian Camp Mystic that got hit. Was right next to where there was a Saratoga. I want to say it was. I saw the bus earlier today. William Shatner went and did a stand-up coverage of it, and they lost 10 children who were teenagers. They were like much bigger than the ones that were killed
in the 1970s, right? 70s?
No, in 1987. Like,
oh, it was 87.
In recent memory, this happened, and it was like it was not very far away. That area floods. If you've ever seen it flood, it floods crazy. Like I'm telling you, my wife's godmother lives on the Guadalupe. They lost their home. And they couldn't insure their home because it was in a floodplain, even though they were, let's see here, they were probably 75 yards away from the river and they're on an uphill slant. The water came up so much and it's predictable. And when you see the interview that she did with Ben Berquam, which went out on a Real America's Voice, like I'll send it to you later, but like they interviewed Elizabeth and she's my kid's Aunt Elizabeth. She's a sweet, sweet lady. And she's like, we always knew that this would eventually happen. Everybody who lived on that water knows that you are going to lose everything on that water. You can't insure it because it's predictable. So it's predictable because it's also happened before.
Have you ever
everywhere
been in a
that you go?
flood?
It's scary.
Yeah. Dude,
Do you
I
know
used
what
to
year
live.
the house was built? That your godmother's house?
That's a great question. I don't know when they rebuilt. So the structure was much smaller than what they improved it to, but they weren't able to insure it. They weren't able to build up on it, and they weren't able to add to it once the city came in and like basically zoned and said like this is basically flood teardown. Everything was supposed to be on stilts in that area. If you wanted to build like a domicile, so existing buildings were grandfathered in, and I want to say that it was
off stilts.
That's
oh yeah, for sure.
Buildings off stilts. It was crazy.
Well, what's crazy is it didn't take off the stuff that her I don't know, life partner, sort of like common law husband. They've been together for 15 years, as far as I remember. He's a woodworker and he does like metal and stuff like that. So he has these huge I-beams and they built this kind of like awning over on a foundation. Mm-hmm. That thing was standing like other people's houses broke on his stuff because he's an awesome builder. They just didn't build a living quarters that was up in the air, which we were asking them to do for years. We were hoping that they would just do something slightly safer than that, but they knew that was kind of the risk they did. They loved the quaint little old thing they had, but that area flooded in the 80s. So it was sometime after the 1980s. And it was a little cottage. It was a 400, 500 square foot cottage. The roof came in on it and like the thing got destroyed. But because the water got so crazy in there that it actually destabilized the walls and the roof actually toppled in from the amount of water that was on top of the roof. Like,
and there were also 1,000-year floodplains too that were violated from this, which is, I mean, once every 1,000 years. Do you think they're measuring incorrectly?
So I think our numbers are really wrong. And so Matt, this is something I brought up the other day, and this is the problem. So we talked about development. When you take an area like Central Texas, which has had a massive influx of people, there are millions of square feet of no longer permeable land that used to be absorbable. They were plains, they were undeveloped, they were just whatever, like grass and so on. They are now shopping malls and roadways and homes, millions and millions and millions of square feet in the Austin area, in the Central Texas area in general, Waco, Fredericksburg. All these areas have had population explosions in the last 20 years. I don't think any of our flood estimates are close because we don't have anywhere for that water to go. And anybody who's honest, your 50-year floodplain is probably now a 10-year floodplain, and your 100-year is probably more like a 25-year because the land is not the same.
We just lost 13 people in San Antonio.
Yeah, well, San Antonio was exploded, buddy. I mean, it's
you're
crazy
right.
big.
I mean, that's what I'm saying is that we literally had a flood that went under 410. Mm-hmm. In a construction area. Normally they would have stuff on the side that would say, hey, you're at 15 feet. And people just drove into it like bloop, 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 bloop. That car's going. And 13 people died.
It tells you that what a high sort of safety and trust society we have right now. But like even the numbers that you're looking at, and they're horrific. Like they're the worst tragedy of the year for sure in the state of Texas. And it'll be one of the worst things that's happened in many years in the state of Texas when it comes to like natural disasters. They pale in comparison to places that actually live on a real edge where, you find out like you see like a ferry boat go down and like 300 people drowned and overnight, and it's like not even a big occurrence because that happened a couple months earlier because there's no safety. Like we have such high safety, but what we don't have are really good estimate. We're building out all these things, and we have a lot of non-permeable, non-water absorbing areas. I don't think any of our flood estimates are accurate, and and the answer is that you have to look for yourself. You have to be the same person that wakes up like my wife does in the middle of the night because it started raining. And you go, hey, that's really hard rain. It's been raining all day. And we found out that it was basically like 2 hours of rain. It was 2 inches of rain per hour for like 50 straight hours. That's how much rain we got. That's a lot of rain.
Well,
whether it's cloud seeding or not, it doesn't make any difference because normally rain goes into the ground and it doesn't destroy stuff. And if you live on the river and you know that the river floods, and by the way, those rivers flood every time it rains. The question is how much? You should always be watching that thing. You got to. Like normal people look at it and go, when I lived in outside of Dallas, we had a creek. It was ankle deep tops. Okay. On any given day. When it rained, it would get 20 feet deep. It was the scariest shit you've ever seen. And like people's, their sheds would go by, and like little girls' bicycles would be floating by, and you'd see like a Red Ryder wagon, and you're like, oh my God, was there like a person attached to that? Was in somebody's yard? Like everything would fly by, and it's not pretty water. It's brown and full of muck and silt and branches and tools and twisted metal and all the crazy stuff. So like every time it rained, we watched the creek because the creek flooded big time. It would go almost up to the top of this trestle bridge. It never got up to my house. But like it was always a possibility, and we always watched it. And if you live on that stuff, like I said, our family member who's living down on the Guadalupe, they knew. They always watched the river. Neighbors watched neighbors. They came and knocked on doors and said, hey, it's looking like we're getting more rain coming in. It's 6 a.m. and you guys don't normally get up till 9, but you better start moving your stuff now. It's the only reason why Elizabeth and Paul, our family members, were able to get their vehicles out of the way. They moved them because like their neighbors woke them up, because in a good society, we look out for each other. Like it's not the government. It's almost never the government.
Even though I wouldn't mind a few warning systems in place just in case. That may
I don't
be
hate that either. I don't hate the warning system for whatever it's worth. I don't hate that. Like I don't hate that, but that wasn't going to be there's a big story that went out, I think on ABC this morning, that said that there were no flood sirens in the areas. And I don't know if that would have saved a life, and hindsight's 2020.
Well, we can put them there now because it's going to happen again. That's what. And
there's nothing scarier than going up a mountain through trails, through rocks. You're hiking, and you hear this shh. You're like, what in the world is that? And then you see a little bit of water that comes down, because there's always like this. It's like
there's a
laser. It's a little, it comes down, and I'm in the middle of it, and I hear something, and I'm like, run. And I said, run. And there's 5 of us, and we're trying to tear down. You just came up through the rocks, right? And you're trying to get around
really
a
fast
bend.
When you're scared.
What's that?
You can run fast when you're scared.
You can run. And I just remember at the last minute, my buddy grabbed his girlfriend / I don't even know what it was, grabbed her and pulled her up because the water was coming, and there's no way you survive it. There's a wall that was 5 feet. We were up on this rock over here, and
waist
the water
deep throw you.
The water came all the way up, probably 6, 8, 10 feet. I don't know. It was a lot, right? And at the time, it was probably 400 feet, as far as I was concerned. We were sitting on top of the rock up here. There's 5 of us standing up there, and the water keeps going. I was like, we didn't get high enough. We're screwed. And you're thinking about it as it comes up, and then all of a sudden, it stays there. And then as quick as it comes in, it's done. And
well, that wasn't the case in these because it's sustained. And again, this is because we don't have things absorbing this water. The amount of sustained high water marks. This is usually they recede really quickly in a kind of an arroyo flash flood or in a mountain flood. You'll see that kind of like an avalanche. It's gone and that's it. That's not what was happening here. It was building up this steam head, and then it was plunging down. The river behind my house. It's 700 yards away from my back door. It's the South Fork of the San Gabriel River. That thing went. It is normally ankle deep. My kids were scrambling across the rocks in the middle of it. It is probably like there's nothing that is wider that you can't like broad jump over. And it got 50, 60 yards wide, and it touched the bottom of the of 183, the bridge, the highway, which was 30 feet. It's insane amounts of water. But again, that's what happens in Texas. It does that. And it's been doing that my whole life. So it's not an early warning system. Great. I hope they do that. Having awesome Coast Guard rescue swimmers. You saw that one guy who saved like 165 people. That's amazing. Like, we've got really cool mechanisms. At the end of the day, the answer is always like, where's your neighbor? Are you going to be your brother's keeper in that way and go out there and check in on the people next door because you're like, shit, this could get really bad. We have a house on stilts. You don't. You should come into our house on stilts. The way that societies have always done it. It's like one person to another right next to you. It's the only people that, like, the government's never going to end up saving everybody. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, look, you got to be careful. And yeah, but the problem is that it killed babies. And so we are kind of looking for, it killed a lot of children. And that's, I think, the part that it gets me the most.
It sucks. We need to abolish the government anyway. So let's just abolish the government. Shatter the FBI into pieces. How about we shatter the entire government?
Shatter the FBI for sure. But the crazy thing is like, the government ends up failing in other ways. Everyone's going to be pointing fingers. You're never going to be able to figure it out. Like, one of the musings I had is like, how do you believe in a kind and merciful God? How do you believe that God has a plan? And this is always true, but it's like, it's more poignant when you see babies killed and you go, what plan is this serving? Like, there's an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old that are grasping their hands and they're praying the rosary and they're being swept away. Like, it makes me want to puke. It makes me want to puke right now, actually. So I don't even want to talk about it. But how do you rectify that with a kind and merciful God that loves us and wants good things for us? It's the hardest thing there is to grasp. And those parents, they've got a horrible door in front of them, right? Some people are going to have that experience and they're going to walk away. They're like, there is no God. There's obviously no God.
That's experience.
That is an answer that I know people that have walked through that door. They're like, there's no way that my child was taken away from me. And that's an unjust world. There cannot be anything.
Well, those girls, their souls are in heaven right now. They're reunited with God and they are.
I agree. It's going to be, imagine being their parents were in the cabin right next to them.
Dude, my brother died, murdered by a police officer. Let me just tell you what went through my head. I mean, I was so mad at God. I can't even tell you how mad I was. I was mad. I was really, really mad. That was my first taste of, it wasn't my first taste, but it was a taste of the fact that the police could be that evil. People could be that evil, not just police. People could be that evil that they would just cover up what was an obvious crime. Now it's an everyday occurrence. But I went there. I went there pissed off at God. Yeah, man, I was so angry.
I'm just saying, it's a door that's put in front of you. That's clearly the case. Call it a temptation, call it whatever you want. It's there. The only solace, and it's a really awful solace, but most people have probably not been drowned.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look over my shoulder, like I have some proof that I was a couple times. It was something that I had to go do. And drowning is possible. If I had to choose any way to go, that would be it. I wouldn't probably want to do it in the dark in muddy waters, but I've been in the dark and been to the point where if someone didn't pull me out, I was dead. I've done that. And it actually stops being scary at the end. It's scary as hell right up until it's not. And for the last moments of like sentient consciousness that I experienced several times, it's actually really peaceful in a really screwed up way as you lose all oxygen and your brain starts shutting down. As you get to the point of hypoxia where you no longer have vision, your hearing lasts longer than your eyes. Your eyes will black out. Your eyes will be open. You just won't see anything because it shuts down. But your hearing is still there. And it's actually really, it's unsettling how peaceful it is because I have a strong memory of it more than once. And most people have probably not got to the point of hypoxia where they're not going to make it, but
he does it to himself.
No, I don't do it to myself. Are you looking over at that? But like that's what I'm clinging to right now. And again,
that's comforting to hear you describe that because
it's an unbelievably bizarre thing. Drowning is the best way if you had to go. I'm just from the things that I've experienced. I think I look at people in fires and I've dealt with burn victims and like that looks like an awful thing. I don't know.
You don't feel it. I mean, you don't feel
that's what you hear too. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. So maybe that's the weird thing that we don't actually, you can't fathom having not gotten to that point. But as you reach that point of, like I said, fire is the worst thing I can imagine. But yeah, it burns through all your nerves, doesn't it? So you don't feel anything.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I don't know. Drowning is such a peaceful. It's such a peaceful thing.
Talking about ways to go,
dude. I'm just telling you, I've dealt with a lot of people going through drown proofing and dive training in the military, and nobody ever is particularly violent or has a really scarring memory of drowning when they get really close, or if you have a near drowning experience is what they usually call it, or shallow water blackout, they'll call it that, where you lose consciousness but you're still alive. It's super peaceful, which is kind of unsettling. Anyway,
a little bit, but I know the parents are also reliving over and over in their heads. What if I got in there sooner? What if I hadn't sent them to camp? And
that's it. That's
that
all,
feeling. Yeah, that just must be.
It'll punish them forever.
Yeah.
Again, it's you look at that and you just go, how is that even possible? How do you come out the other end of that?
I've watched several people die. I've watched more than my share of people die. Mm-hmm. And even, I mean, it's funny you actually said that, because I watched somebody die of a gunshot, and I think it's peaceful at the end there too. They're terrified.
They don't look tortured. No, I've
terrified, and then they're not. It's like this this light that comes over them. It's weird. It's a weird moment, and then you can tell when their soul leaves their body. You can see it at that very moment. You can see it.
I did an interview with what's his name, Richie McGinnis, mm-hmm. who is kind of like an adrenaline guy. He's actually one of my favorite interviews. Super interesting dude. But he does his own. He was doing riot chasing, and he was one of the people that was right next to, what was that guy's name? Jason Rosenbaum, the guy that died, that Kyle Rittenhouse shot.
Oh yeah.
And pedophile. Yeah.
Yeah. He was the last person to be holding him. He helped him get into a vehicle and tried to get him to the hospital. And so he was in the back with him, and he said he held him when he died, and he was explaining it to me. And he was like, it's not the first time I've ever seen somebody die, but that guy did not look like he had a moment of peace. Like he wasn't going somewhere good. And you're explaining I think there are different experiences that people have at that moment. You'll see people be completely at peace. I've seen people die and be unbelievably peaceful for something that shouldn't have been very peaceful. Well, but he explained that, and I was like, that's a really, if you lived an evil life like that, and and then someone shot you because you were trying to attack him in a moment of rage, he said it was one of the worst things he's ever seen on that guy's face, and I believe that's probably true too. So anyway, well, I don't know why we're talking about this, but
no, we should do a whole story on it, because it's actually not. You get to a place. I can tell you this right now. You get to a place where the person's terrified. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't care where you're at. If you see someone that's bleeding out, the first thing you think to yourself is, he's not going to make it. You just know, right? And, but there's this point, this terror. I mean, just panic, absolute panic. And then all of a sudden, the panic just goes away. And they're still breathing, they're still looking at you, but they're done with the panic. And now they just are, okay, I'm leaving. You could just tell that's the moment that they know that it's a point of no return. Yeah, we went on this because of the children. Just
we have to do an autopsy of the conversation to figure out where we went down that road.
No idea.
What turnoff did we take? I was talking to you out of cloud seeding is what was going on. You were saying it was.
I was not going to talk about. I was talking about the fact that they're doing it, and they need to leave.
They definitely are doing that. I don't know that it's going to be able to be. I don't know that you can. Like I said, because these places have flooded before, because it has happened before in these areas, because this amount of rain happens, it does happen.
No, but it doesn't happen at the frequency that it's happening now. It's just it never has before. So either we have a problem that we have to deal with, or we're manipulating things in a way that we shouldn't be touching things. Right? I'm sorry, but you have North Carolina.
Seems like other places we could be manipulating weather if we want to start experimenting with stuff. There's places I don't care that much about.
I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, there's areas of, I could tell you stories about Kenya or Uganda or Tanzania where You have the cycles of floods, and all of a sudden you got 5 years of literally wiping out entire areas. I'm talking cutting caverns in the ground that has never happened before, where it's raining literally nonstop for months on months on months on months and filling things up. It's crazy, and it's happening all over the world. We just don't hear about it. Maybe. Look, I think it's a question we have to ask. And the bad part is we constantly come back to questioning what the government is doing because they're not doing anything that represents the people because the people don't know about it. So that means the government doesn't represent us, which means we're slaves. Congratulations. We just came to the same conclusion. The end.
Yeah. The end.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Taking care of our tribe?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna build our own fraternity, then take over the government. Did
you guys learn? Did you learn a bunch of brilliant things from Steve Friend?
Dude, he's a good dude.
He's a very smart guy. The way he described structure of the FBI, going down 15 levels, and how at every single point there's a roadblock that's being put up by those individuals. It's fascinating to get a deep dive into that, because from an outside perspective, you don't understand that. You don't realize, you think, okay, he's in that position. Why can't he just do everything? And there's so much more than just doing everything. And if you have enough guts, maybe you can, but there's a lot more to it than that. So that's why, that's one of the reasons why it's not getting done.
It's like getting a new CEO at Walmart and you're wondering why no one's cleaning up aisle 7 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's like, these are very, very long chains that get down to the problem. And that ends up being a culture issue as much as anything else, which I think Steve and I both agree on. Steve analyzes things differently than I, which is what I really like about him, because it's nice to have friends that agree with you. It's really nice to have friends that see things differently than you do, and they complement sort of your vision with things that you never thought of. He constantly tells me things I've never thought of. And Steve's a very bright guy.
I want him to get a job as a sheriff in Colorado. Cool. I think we got to get to the same place. I tried to get Kyle to move.
Great
to Colorado.
though. He's a straight male. Have you? So,
dude, I
don't know why you'd be trying to get people to move to Colorado.
I told Kyle,
it's going downhill.
Come out here. I mean, dude, we could do so much because Kyle's a solve the problem guy, and I'm telling you, we would have so much fun.
I think my problem solving would be like, we need to go feral. We need to do tomahawks. Like,
so the problem is that's where he goes. But what I was saying is we got to get everybody to the same place.
Could we cloud seed Denver? Could we have less Denver? If there was less Denver, I feel like there'd be better Colorado.
We could build an arc.
Yeah, what if we just make a hurricane that comes through Denver? Is that the solution to all our problems, Joe?
I just think you got to build a fraternity.
I've used that tool before, to be fair.
Listen, we've got to get to a place where the fraternity is in one place, right? We have density. Like, we don't have a density right now. We're like all over the place.
I would really like it if we found a place that had no property taxes, but it turns out you don't have any of those in America. So you always are just renting your property from the government, which I also despise.
Wow, this is weird. This is like me. He's reincarnate. This is like me. This is,
I used to hear people say taxation was theft, and I was like, that's clever. Yeah, I hate taxes. And then I was like, what are taxes? And then I started paying taxes with my own pocketbook. You go from being a W-2 where you see them like where they're giving you whatever you get to keep until the point where you get all of it. And then you write them a check at the end of the year. And I'm like, not only do I hate taxes, I understand why people used to hang tax collectors. I understand why everybody involved in the situation needs to be. I understand why you should probably be interested in money laundering. I know why the founding fathers of this country were privateers and freaking pirates, that they were out there doing scamming.
Yes.
They were smuggling. They were cheating. Like, if they weren't cheating, they weren't trying, kind of deal. And I get it. And we just paid 8.25% sales tax on freaking fireworks to celebrate a 2% sales tax on tea that started a war. So there's that.
It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even. It's not even in the same ballpark. It's not even the same species. This makes sense.
This is the part.
It's time for the Boston fireworks party. We need to go and find one of these ships from China and just throw all the fireworks into the ocean to protest the taxation on the fireworks. Is it time to do that, Kyle? Are you ready?
Are you saying you're anti-tariff? Are you anti-tariffs? Is that what's going on?
I'm saying let's get our tomahawks.
I'm for it. Look, I think there is a lot of creativity that can happen in destruction. The problem is that most Americans are not prepared for what that actually looks like, and that's why we're still where we're at. Because unless you're prepared to not have your kids swept away by some natural disaster and have a question about God, like to see that your kids are shot in your front yard with you because you were just you just weren't there at the right time. That's what a real conflict looks like in other places where people just die and there's no reason, rationale, or understanding, and there's no victory at all. It's just evil, awful, atrocious stuff.
Yes.
Americans are not prepared to watch their neighbor's house get bombed by some raiding party and then they let you go because you had the flag hanging out outside it, or vice versa. You didn't have the BLM sticker, so your house gets like torched. I dated a girl from Yugoslavia who dealt with that in the civil wars that was going on. She was actually living in Bosnia as a Serb, and her family got warning that they were targeted. They got into an ambulance, were covered up with medical supplies, and someone sent an RPG into their house and blew it up. And it was her dad was already retired. He retired early because it was communism under Tito's Yugoslavia, and he escaped America because he managed to leave, and then his family was coming second, and they got heads up that they were the next one on the list, and the Bosnians ended up going after them. There was atrocities on all sides, and like there's no good guys in that war. It's just everybody loses. So Americans are not ready for the Boston fireworks party yet that you're suggesting. I'm just going to tell you that there's still Netflix and there's still Uber Eats. So it's not happening until those things start drying up and people really have a different experience. There's only LARPers. The people that want that are LARPing, and they're in Chicago and Portland, or Seattle and Portland rather. I've seen them.
Unfortunately, you're right. But I do want to ask you, because I don't think I've heard you mention this. And before you get off, I want to know: do you by any chance have a tomahawk?
Does.
Yeah, dude.
You do? Okay. All right.
100%.
Because I didn't hear you talk about it all the whole show.
I've got at least 3
look at that. There it
tomahawks.
is. There's a tomahawk. That's awesome.
No, I have one like right here.
That's so cool.
And he knows how to use it.
Yeah, he's a trained. I
have a tomahawk next to my bed.
Is it called? Are you a tomahawkist? Is that what it's called? What's
a tomahawkist? I don't think I'm a tomahawkist. I might be like a low grade aficionado. It's not my preferred choice of like, even it's not even my preferred edge weapon, if we're being totally honest. I think got some alternatives that I'd be more effective with, but it's a
but it sounds cool, so it's worth it.
It does not look like something you want to get on the wrong end of it.
I don't think so. What about your battle axe, Joe? Who do you think is winning the fight? Battle axe Joe versus tomahawk Kyle. Who's coming out on top?
So nobody the battle axe is when you drop it down on top of somebody's head. The tomahawk is used for
long range.
No. The tomahawk is used for just slicing and dicing, man.
Yeah,
it's
up
light,
close.
It's
you can hit all, especially this one here. That's you can do gut shots. You can hit brachial, femoral. You can hit all the bleeders.
Boy, here we go.
Carotids.
There's another one of those questions you shouldn't ask.
The one question to avoid with. Yeah, but no, it is interesting though.
A man who might need to take life should know where the buttons are, where the off switches are. There's a couple of them on us. Some of them are faster than others. There's a slow reboot. There's an instant reset.
Are you familiar? You know Warrior Poet Society, John Lovell?
I love John.
That's my cousin.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Will you have him do an interview with me? I love John Lovell's stuff. I've been watching it, and I'm like, if I had a spirit animal that was nicer than me, that's what it would look like. It'd be that guy. He's such a positive, cool dude.
Yeah, we have the same grandmother. So I love John. I'll ask him. Maybe I think that would be a cool collab.
I regularly tell people when they go, "Hey, would you teach me how to use a weapon?" I'm like, go watch a bunch of Warrior Poet Society, intro to pistol, intro to carbine, intro to all the things. Like, go watch that if you want to learn how to do something. His breakdown is outstanding because he doesn't complicate things more than it needs to be, and he always gives really, really good lessons in like tight packages.
When I was a kid, I went to one of his. So when he was first joining the military, I went to one of his training courses, and it was so cool. Where they had, you go over the water and you do all the cool stuff with climbing ladders and all that stuff. So I've been enjoying that from the backseat since before he even got into YouTube and everything, and it really took off. And he sent me a copy of his book. So I'll definitely. I'm obviously trying to clout chase off my cousin because he's way cooler than me. So. That's my goal is just to get as much clout as possible from him. But anyway, yeah, I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to.
I think he's such a like the thing that he does is really positive, and it's not necessarily a positive industry. There's a lot of negativity in that industry. There's a lot of competitiveness. I've seen him sit down with like Lucas Botkin and do some really nice like he adds a Christian piece to it that is not common in sort of gun culture all the time. It's definitely not like the most common thing. So it's neat. I think he's a special creature just from observing from afar. That's a cool relation. I wouldn't have necessarily guessed that, but I could kind of see the familiar relation there.
I don't know if that's thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm not I guess I'm not cool enough to be John Lovell's cousin. Maybe one day. Maybe if I grow the beard out a little bit,
the beard is not it. I think we're gonna do. Joe's gonna get you on like a trap bar. He's gonna have you just doing some like traps. I think just beef up.
Yeah, I need to beef up. I mean, I'm 26. I'm still working on it. I spend way too much time behind a computer making tweets. So but I have been doing the training recently, and so I'm working on it. I'll get there.
You got more than enough time. I don't think I put man meat on me until I was in like my late 20s. So you're about to hit your apex. It's exciting.
That sounds fun. I'll be an apex peddler next time you come on the show. I'll just be
my favorite. Top lethality at 28 to 29. That's what you're aiming at. Plus, you're already ahead of the curve. You got babies. I didn't have babies when I was a dummy. I was doing dumb things. I like that.
I cannot wait to be my new baby. That's all I'm looking forward to right now. I cannot wait. There's nothing better than holding your baby for the first time. So that'll be great. And then cuddling 3 babies at once. That's going to be, because all of them are babies.
Kyle's getting ready to have another half football team.
Yeah, Kyle, you're ahead of the game there. You're gonna.
Well, I'm old, but I'm pursuing I'm trying to live my values. So there's that. But yeah, being covered by children of your children is great. My wife was laughing the other day. She was sitting back and reading a book, and she watched all of them dogpile me, including the infant, and they were all like trying to get attention in their own way. So I had one of them in a leg lock, I had 2 of them in arm locks, and I'm tickling all of them, like one with a foot, with like each with an arm, whatever. And my little midget is over there like tapping on my face and telling me stuff, like whatever she says in 2-year-old language. It's freaking great. Awesome. I had a moment where I had an out of body experience where I kind of zoomed out and like looked at myself just getting tackled by a bunch of little tiny people that I made. I was like, this is badass. This is what it's about. This will make a man do all the things that a man is supposed to go do. I think that's probably historically true too.
That's the perfect description. Yeah. I mean, and they're so small, especially at that age. So it's just, you like pick them up and, it's just great. It's the best thing.
When you can get all your kids in your arms
at once.
And it's just, you're just overwhelmed. But like, my dad used to have pictures of him with my youngest siblings are twins. And so he had 2 babies at once, which my dad loves infants. Like they're his favorite. He's 75 now, but I have a strong memory of my dad carrying 2 babies and like just looking like he was the king of the world because he had these 2 little football people. And they're all wrapped up, it's pretty cool. I think it's cool when men actually go like, yeah, that's what this is about. Instead of some of the other things. When I hear other guys, I had a guy actually, speaking of, we talked about earlier, Kash Patel is one of his buddies, was talking at a table in Vegas and he was explaining to me about like hot chicks that he knew. And I was like, I don't care. Like you misread this table. You misread this table so dramatically. I'm not impressed by your jet. I'm not impressed by your hot chicks. I don't care. It doesn't. You can impress me if you had like a really cool gun or like a belt fed. Yeah, I know you do. I've seen Joe's guns. You have like whole rooms full of them that are selling them to other people even.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. But speaking of that, we'll close it out this way. DCF Guns West, Colorado Springs, had a piece of trash and his piece of trash girlfriend break into the gun store this morning around 4 a.m. Here's a picture of this. You notice he has tattoos on his arms, hands, and face, it looks like, actually.
An illegal immigrant, we believe, based on that photo.
He wrote on his face is what that looks like.
Yeah.
Now, there's another picture. We actually have a video of this douche, but he can't keep his pants up. I just want to point that out. He can't keep his pants up.
Is he holding a gun? One of the guns. Is it one that he brought or one that he stole?
Yeah. So here's a video of like, oh shit, we want to get out of here. Is over here.
Good.
Smashing the glass. All right. So if you're in Colorado, if you're in Colorado Springs, you know who this person is. You decided to check it. I put it on social media. I have a $5,000 reward. The guns, by the way, I just want you to know that they went to a case and they stole 8 pistols, piece 365s, right? They walked past the Daniel Defense and some of the other nicer stuff. I mean, even like the Honey Badgers, and we had some Geisleys out there. Nope, they walked past all of that and got P365. So you know that they're stupid. I mean, they might as well just go. That's like going to a place with gold and picking up the big
silver
glob of silver, right? These people are retards. I mean, not even silver. It's like a high point. It's like going to a gun store and saying, I really need the best high point you can get me with a laser pointer. These guys are not smart. $5,000 reward. It's more than the guns are worth, right? This is them. They were upstairs trying to get in on upstairs. They could not get in. Ended up going into the roof and getting in upstairs. That's them climbing out that window. How they got on the roof is beyond me. Like, it's unbelievable that they got on the roof. So, but stole 8 guns. Here's the bad part about it. It took the police an hour and 10 minutes from the time that the alarm went off to be there. We beat them there by almost 40 minutes. They would not clear the facility until they knew that the people had left because they wanted to be safe themselves. So they sent people out there into the community. And I'm sorry, this is me being critical. Don't be a police officer if you don't want to run in and figure stuff out. Because once those guns leave the gun store, now they're used in the community to kill people. So let me just tell you right now that the police, and then one of the women police officers was bragging about the fact that they weren't going in until they knew that they had already left. Right?
Government is the worst solution to every problem, including when it's the only solution.
Imagine if she was the police officer responsible for responding to a school shooting. You think she's...
that one of our guns were used in. I mean, it's just because they couldn't do the right thing. Hour and 10 minutes. So they can be at a bank in less than 3 minutes, cannot be at a gun store where illegal guns are put on the street and then radical leftists use it for a reason to take away your rights. And these are the people running the community. So I promptly canceled our $10,000 thing that we give to the police association. I said, we'll never support you guys again. We're out. I will not do any sort of special deals for you. If you can't take care of us, why would we take care of you? If you can't protect the community, then why would I give anything to you? I'll take care of it myself. I'll have somebody that's planted inside the stores at night. And when somebody comes in, I will literally tie a chain around their ankle and drag them to the police station. And if the ankle is the only thing left, when it's all said and done with, guess what? You can go pick up the pieces on the way there. We're not going to let these clowns. We're not going to let these criminals.
There's my Joe. I knew you were in there.
Yeah,
you've been too positive for a while.
I'm pissed.
I know you are.
Because
it's such a liability and it's such a damage. Like, it can be done.
So we actually are doing that. We made sure we put stuff in place on the roof. I have a little surprise for who anybody tries to do that again. I'm not going to tell you, but I will tell you that I'd watch every one of your steps. It's just, I had to call and say, hey, am I allowed to do this? They're like, why would anybody be on the roof? And I was like, well, we would have, someone do the stuff. And he goes, yeah, so you can do that. Why would you do that? And then I explained it. They go, you have a sign that says stay off the roof? It says, yeah. Okay.
There we go.
I just want to make sure that, whoever goes up there ends up, with a prosthetic. So we just did some cool stuff to make sure that that's a possibility.
But toe poppers are a real thing.
There are some things that you can do, I'm telling you, that you won't see coming till it comes. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there we go. So anyway, $5,000 reward. So if
turn in the dirt bags.
Huh?
Yeah, turn in the dirt bags so they don't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Dummies.
There you go.
Ready to pray us out?
Yeah, I am. Oh, my prayer?
It's your turn.
Is it my turn to pray us out? No,
it's your turn.
I think we should have Kyle pray us out.
Oh, I like that idea. We could have Kyle pray us out. Kyle, are you up for that?
Pray us out?
Yeah, but I'm going to try to keep myself together because I keep thinking about these kids. Yep.
All right.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. We thank you for the time together. We thank you for camaraderie, communication, technology, that we can share ideas and let people know that they're not alone with the thoughts they have, even if they're surrounded by people who don't agree with them, that your creation is vast. We're just one little piece of it. We don't have the plan. We don't necessarily understand your plan. So we ask you to give us some insight as we go through this difficult time in Texas. People around the country are suffering, losing family members. For the people who are victims of violence and sexual abuse that we just saw a pretty strange thing happen in our government, we ask you to help us be patient with our leaders, be patient with each other, and to be patient with ourselves. And we ask you to guide our path keep our feet walking in the right direction, even when we are inclined to do otherwise. We ask all this through your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Be patient with ourselves.
It's my constant prayer.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for praying with us. Thanks for being with us. I'll see you hopefully this weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll come down and say hello. I'll bring the wife. And
Deal.
Just go have barbecues or something.
It's a deal.
All right. See you, brother, man.
All right, buddy.
Whew. Love that guy.
That Kyle's cool. And Kyle is following me, by the way. So, obviously that means he passed the base test, unlike whoever that chick is. Yeah. that's a nice, that's
Julie Kelly.
Julie Kelly. Yeah.
She's not based at all. All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We went really long today, but it was kind of fun. So we got a lot out, and we got to talk about the FBI and the fact that Netanyahu is trying to repay Trump by nominating for the Peace Prize. I gotta go before I start saying something I'm not supposed to say. We'll see you tomorrow.